Meeting today, Tuesday, July 10th, 2018 at 6:30 p.m. Would everyone please rise for an invocation by Bernard Wright, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Father, we give you praise, honor, and glory tonight. We bless your holy name, for yours is the greatness, the power, and the glory, the victory and the majesty in the heavens and on the earth, for yours is the kingdom. You are exalted above all, rule of all, and head over all. Riches and honor comes from you. In your hand is power and might, and it lies in your hand to make great and to give strength to everyone. Therefore, we thank you and bless your glorious name. You are the God of justice. You are the God of reconciliation. You are the God of restoration. You know what this city needs in respect to restoration and what it needs in respect to reconciliation, to get rid of our differences. And we're going to continue to live in that one commandment that Jesus gave us in John 13 and 34, that we love one another as he has loved us, and he laid down his life for us. Therefore, we must lay down our life one for another, put the differences aside, and let's do what we can one for another, as much as we can one for another, when we can one for another, within the realms of the law. In Jesus' name, amen, amen, and amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May I have a roll call, please? Here.
Here.
Here. Here. Any additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda? Seeing none, may I have a motion to approve? All those in favor state so by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Agenda is approved unanimously. Tara, anything to do with legal?
Not tonight.
Okay, thank you. Informational items and disclosures by board members and CRA staff. Board Member McCray, would you like to begin? Vice Chair?
I also have nothing to disclose. Thank you, Chair.
Board Member Casello?
None to report.
I spoke with David Katz regarding the 211 East Ocean Avenue, item 13A, and Board Member Katz.
I spoke to a resident and adjacent property owner, 211 Brian Fitzpatrick.
Announcements, music on the rocks.
Good evening, Board. Mercedes Coppins, Special Events Coordinator. This is the final recap of the 2017-2018 Special Events season. We had our last Music on the Rocks event on Friday, June 15th. Unfortunately, due to some rain, the event did end a little early, but we were able to collect 13 feedback surveys, and the information that we pulled was that 54% of the residents, or of the attendees, were residents of Boynton Beach, 41% had heard about the event from a friend, and 29% through social media. That's it. Thank you.
Question on information only? Seeing none? Moving on to public comments. Individual speakers will have 3 minutes to discuss any item not on the agenda. If you wish to discuss an agenda item, please let me know at this time and state your name and address for the record.
(145) Northeast 4th Avenue, Boynton Beach. The job fair is coming up, so I wanted to just give you a little update on that. We're starting with our social media, so you'll see on Facebook that there's an event. Please go there and friend that. Renee is wonderful, and her and Azim will be promoting that through social media. And the CRA is going to let us use a couple of signs to put them up through town, about 5 of them. So Lola with Delray Fine Signs is designing those now, and they should start going up at the end of the week. We've hired Comcast to do a wonderful promotion. So you'll see in that event on social media that there's a little video that's starting to run on Comcast now. And the week prior to the event, there's several sites, television station sites that will be appear on. I always get so nervous when I stand up in front of you guys. Anyway, we're really trying hard to drive attendance. Tony Miller has gone to all of the universities, schools, some culinary trades, down to Boca Helping Hands that have that culinary training program. Miami, as far as Miami, to some culinary trade schools. The state of Florida College here. So we're really working it hard over the next 3 weeks to drive attendance. And I left some of these on the back table. If anyone knows anyone and would like to take more, please do that. Our website is under construction. It should have been done today, but I hit a wrong button. So I'm hoping to recover that tomorrow and wrap it up. That's my last little thing, is to get that landing page. We've got about 30 vendors, 30 to 35 recruiters that will be there. And we're going to have a wonderful celebrity chef exhibition. Thank you, Christina, very much, Vice Mayor, for consenting to do that. And Mayor Grant, you'll be giving a state of the city. All right, we're working with your
If you would
secretary.
like me to speak for 5 minutes, absolutely.
You got it. So I think it's going to be a wonderful event. Mark it on your calendar. Benvenutos 2 to 6 on August 7th. Thank you.
Good evening, Minister Bernard Wright, 713 Northwest 2nd Street, CEO of Bernard Wright Ministry to Robert E. Wells Foundation and Real Talk Radio. At the City Commission meeting I presented these children. These are children. I don't want all y'all to see. These are children, I passed it around, that by the grace of God are not subjected to the elements of the street in the heart of Boynton Beach this year. And I just want to thank all of you all who have prayed for us. If you have given a donation, I don't know who might have, but we're going on for another 3 weeks. And the families and communities for this family event, just keeping these children off the street, they've been wonderful. And I just want to thank any of y'all who have contributed somewhere where we might have had a problem here. We don't have now, even going in there in the mornings and afternoons for lunch and for breakfast. We appreciate that, no doubt about that. And the children has been great. 65 children dealing with is not an easy thing, but it's by the grace of God we've been able to keep them out of the weather. And I just wanted to say personally, Mr. Katz, I appreciate your offer the last time on the $1,000, but it would only have got one kid in the summer camp that the city has out there. But now, if you were very sincere about that, right now we have another 2 weeks, and we building baseball teams out there, and we've had great contributors. That $1,000 right now, if you were seriously for real about it, you can contribute that still, and it will help for the next 2 weeks to give these children the most memorable experience they have ever had together at one time, 65, and every day it's been from 50 to 60 children. And anybody who are in the reading area, and if someone you could perhaps send will volunteer to come and help read with these children, because reading and writing literacy is something in my culture that is very necessary right now, and that is real. So if you got some time you want to contribute, we're at the Coliseum Center. We would appreciate it, and I just want to thank everyone for whatever you have done in this respect, and we still need contributors. God bless you, and have a great day. And you can get with me. You can call me at 754-246-0767. You do have my number. And y'all said if anyone was going to contribute, who would come down here and get it, I will. I'm on 501c3 and ministry. To God be the glory. So we bless everyone, and we would thank all of y'all in advance for any contributions that y'all would give us. And that is a family gathering we have at the Coliseum Center, preventing these children from the elements of the street, because we don't know how many children in the last 8 years and probably previously has gone and been in for mischief and in juvenile detentions because they had nowhere to go. To God be the glory. God bless all of you. Thank you.
There. Yeah, just for your information or anyone else, I did cut a check to the City Parks and Recs Department out of my own personal money for $1,000 about 2 weeks ago, and that money is ready and available to help subsidize individuals who find themselves in a less than ideal economic situation who wish to attend the camp. So that money and that promise has been delivered.
Evening, Board, Mayor. My name is Andrew Fogel, Alter Meadows Lane in Delray Beach, and I'm here just to ask a couple questions in regards to agenda item 14C.
We'll make sure you have the ability when we get to 14C. Is there
Should I
anything-
hold those questions for then? Thank you.
Are there any additional public comments? Seeing none, moving on to consent agenda. Would anyone like to remove an item from consent agenda? Seeing none, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
All those in favor state so by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Consent agenda is approved unanimously. Moving on to old business, project update 211 East Ocean Avenue, AKA Magnuson House.
Good evening, board members. I'm going to give you the update on this tonight. I put in front of each of you a timeline of events. On the first page of the document is a timeline of the agreements and specific timelines that were set forth in each of the agreements and how they changed over time. And the second page is just a summary of events leading to today's update. As we discussed previously at the June meeting, the shovel-ready is in default under the agreement because they failed to receive their building permit before May 14th, 2018. At that meeting, we discussed options that were before the board. At the time, shovel-ready was under notice we had demanded the deed be returned to us by June 14th, 2018. That did not occur. So on June 15th, 2018, my firm, on behalf of the CRA, noticed shovel-ready and their counsel of an additional default under the agreement for failure to revert the property as required under the agreement and the demand letter. At this time, the decision of the board is whether or not to proceed with legal actions to enforce the reverter provisions of the agreement. We, in my opinion, are on strong legal ground to make that demand in court. The time frame associated with that legal action could be anywhere from 6 months to a year, depending upon how vigorously the purchaser, shovel-ready, chooses to challenge. We would seek to resolve it quickly, but of course, the court is the court. So before you tonight is a determination of whether or not you want to move forward with legal action or take some other action with regard to the default by shovel-ready under the terms of the agreement. I also forwarded you, and I believe in front of you today, are 2 emails attaching invoices provided to us by Mr. Tom Carney, who is at the podium now, to indicate and prove up costs that have been spent by shovel-ready in the prosecution of the permits for the property. So if there's any other questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Questions we would like to ask the attorney first? Seeing none. Board, basically, we have the options available for us. Would we like to discuss first or have Tom Carney present his case? All right, Tom, would you like to present your case?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. Well, the case is the same as where we were before, and I did submit, the city attorney asked me to, earlier this week, to submit some bills, or late last week, and a lot of people were gone for the 4th of July. I got most of them in. There was another 3,200 that I sent this afternoon. I'm not sure that Ms. Dewey has those in her possessions, but I submitted invoices in the rough range of $60,000. I could not get a hold of the realtor who's out of town, who we paid a $12,000 commission to. But all these are actual out-of-pocket costs of approximately $72,000. Where we were last week is last month was the discussion that, of course, we feel that we have been doing what we can to get this project completed, and there's differing views on whether the delays were solely solely ours, or whether there was contributing by maybe the city, or maybe by the builder, or maybe by I don't know who. But we approached this with the idea that we wanted to do this project. We're still in that position, but we understand that the city or the CRA really would rather take a different direction. We don't want you as adversaries, because we like the city. And so we came back with a proposal to essentially just reimburse us for what we have in the project. And by the way, none of my time for the last few meetings is included in any of these invoices. So that's whatever that's worth.
Can I just, for the record, neither Mr. Simon nor I received that email today, so I don't know if there was a glitch in your email, but we did not.
Probably. Our email was down most of the day. May I, Mr. Mayor, just hand this to the city attorney?
That's the CRA attorney. Thank you.
Board members here.
I'm easily confused. Yes, I understand that, sir. Chairman, Mr. Chairman. So that's really where we are, and we're hoping that we can just resolve this pretty easily tonight, and just everybody, we just get what we put into the project, and we leave, and hopefully another day can come back and maybe do another project. That's all?
Basically, out of those three options, would someone like to, I'd entertain a motion for one of those options, or a discussion? Board Member Katz.
I'd make a motion with discussion for option 1, to take no action and proceed with legal remedies in order to obtain the property deed under the terms of the reverter and the agreement addendum.
I'll second that.
Discussion.
So I'll go first, is in the sense is that, if we can amicably, settle this matter now, we can have the property and move forward. The situation is that if we go with that option, we don't know exactly how long it will take if we can get the property back. And so, I'm ready to settle today, because that way we know that we're going to have the property and we can do something for next fiscal year. If we don't have the property, we don't have that opportunity. The property can get further disrepair, and then all of a sudden it's going to cost us more once we get the property in a year or 2 years, because it's unlikely that they're going to do anything with the property, cover it up or anything like that. If it gets damaged, it's insured, and they'll take the money out in the insurance. So I'm willing to get the property today and settle for the $50,000, but it's at the will of the board what they would like to do. Yeah.
If I may, to our lawyer, right now they're in default. That deed is ours, technically, correct?
Under the terms of the agreement, yes.
Yes. So why don't we have that in our hand? That's the question. And then we could discuss maybe some of the expenses you incurred while you owned the property. Are you holding us hostage?
No, we're prepared to move forward with the project. As I said, we believe that we have complied.
I understand that, but...
And, we miss it by a day, and so you're asking why am I not turning over?
You missed it by more than one day, and it just...
I understand that.
It
Okay.
even irks me tonight. You come in here and you don't have all your documentation as far as emails and such. You've always come in this chamber with some type of an excuse, sir, since this has started. Right now, as you stand before us, you are in default. According to the contract that you signed, you are in default. That deed is technically ours. It's not in our hand. You are holding that deed. You are holding the CRA's deed. And you're asking us to negotiate while you hold our deed? I don't think that's how it works.
Well, I guess, Mr. Commissioner, the question is, and that'll be a question of fact, that a court will decide as to whether or not we were or were not in default. You're making a statement which I am not embracing, because I've already on the record said, no, we are not. So it becomes a question of fact as to whether or not all the conduct of the various parties during the entire procedure were such that it lent itself to whether we are or not in default. And so we're prepared to do that as well, but we're trying to resolve this amicably.
Well, according to our lawyer, our law department here, you are in default. She says it'll take 6 to 1, maybe a year to resolve this in court. She thinks we have a very strong case. I believe our CRA director also believes on that we should move forward legally on this. I think that those are two well-informed individuals, and I'm going to go on their advice, and I go along with the board member Katz's that we proceed to court.
I appreciate your view.
Thank you,
but
sir.
as I say, that's why there's always 2 lawyers in a case, and why judgments always don't go the way their lawyer tells their client they're going to go.
Member McCray.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not in favor of going the route that we have already said that's on the floor now. My take is that we made a statement, and that was that for him to bring us all his bills, and then we will go ahead and negotiate these bills, and then we would do a settlement. We said at the next meeting. I do believe that's what the record itself state. I'm not in favor of what's on the floor now.
Or Vice Chair, do you have any comments before I call on?
Yes, I do. When I asked last CRA meeting for hard costs in terms of the actual fees, not fees, but costs that were incurred in the time that you or your organization had the 211 building. These invoices that I've received, I don't know if the one that you just submitted to our CRA attorney is different, but these all seem to be permitting fees and insurance expenses and professional fees. These are not hard costs, or in terms of what I explained and what I clarified with our CRA attorney. Hard costs were in terms of what I remember you saying, like you guys spent money on shoring up the building to ensure its viability. I don't see that.
I think some of those are included in this, but I acknowledge.
Well, you've interrupted me, so since you've interrupted me, feel free to tell me where. Go ahead. Where?
No, these were the bills that I was provided, that, and I believe this man who did portions of this work, who's this AW architect, affected work to be done. But if this is all I have, Commissioner.
Okay, and again, being that what I asked for were hard costs, so where were the costs for shoring up the building, for example? Where are those?
I don't have those.
Do they exist somewhere?
I'm told they exist. This is all I have. It was very difficult getting in touch with everybody in the last few weeks.
At this point in time, being that this is what's in front of us, and 30 days were provided to allow for those hard costs to be given, and they're not here, I can't, I have to just basically kind of walk away from the ability to just support this, because these costs that I see here in the invoices that you've provided, these are the costs of doing business. They're not necessarily costs that we could say because we're receiving the building back that we're benefiting from these costs. These were simply just the cost of, because you guys had ownership of the building for the last 2 years, you own them, and so therefore these were the costs of your ownership and your business. We can't reimburse you for those costs, therefore I won't be in favor of wanting to reimburse for this amount unless you have something else to show. These costs don't seem verifiable as hard costs to me.
Well, they're costs attributable to developing the building, the plans and things such as that. Those are costs. I mean, somebody had to put together all the plans to submit for the permit. Those are real costs.
You know, the fact is the invoices say professional fees.
I understand what they say.
And so there is no other explanation for the $15,000 or $7,000 except for professional fees. So, you know, Vice Chair is saying that they're hard costs in the sense is, what was the construction material? What was the labor used to make the property better? You know, I'm aware that the architect doesn't really have, you know, this is his labor, is his services for the $15,000. You know, I totaled it up, it was $50,000. So I understand that these were the hard costs involved because the property wasn't developed. You know, nothing was really done to the property because you can't build on a property unless you have a permit, if I'm not mistaken. And so you guys spent all this in anticipation to build the property. However, the building permit was not paid on time. And so I understand that these were costs for the project. But is there any further discussion from the board?
There's a $5,000 fee that we paid this man that also went to the city. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
and
I see how he describes it, but
So, correct. There are 5,000 fee that was paid to the city. There was also taxes paid. There's the real estate and, attorney's fees stored with the business. I understand that those are all costs as well.
directly attributable to the project.
Correct. Yes, I'm going to go with Board Member Katz, then McCray.
Yeah, I find it not surprising, but disappointing that for yet another meeting, it seems like there's an imminent request for what would be a third or a fourth extension. This time, it's an extension to provide the evidence that costs in a failed business venture should be borne by residents of the CRA in the city of Boynton. So it seems like not only is it more of the same, but it gets worse and worse each meeting. I've explained my position on this. A group of individuals attempted to enter into a business venture. They failed from the onset. We regularly see people come before us. We negotiate terms. At some point during the development of their project, something happens because always something happens. But they've shown something. They've shown work. They've shown tangible investment, not professional fees or architectural design costs. They've showed actual groundbreaking building of property. And then we renegotiate some term to allow them to finish their project because they've demonstrated beyond a shadow of a doubt that they are determined and tried to do what they were inclined to do and agree in their agreement. This project is distinct from all that. Nothing has been done. No good faith has been shown. The contract has been violated at least 3 times, maybe 4. I don't think tonight's technically a violation of the contract, although you were supposed to give the deed back a month ago. You not having the proper receipts isn't a violation of a contract, but it shows a lack of preparedness or seriousness on this issue. The bottom line is, in the free market, when you start a business and it fails, the taxpayers are not responsible. I don't believe bailing out a couple millionaire clients should take precedent over investing this money in actual redevelopment, which is the charge of this board. All I could think about today was that a couple months back, we had a resident come in from the heart of Boyton, and she had entered into an agreement with the CRA to obtain a mortgage and some financing from the CRA. And after almost 10 years of living up to that agreement, she did not violate the agreement. She simply asked to renegotiate it because the house to which she lived in was almost uninhabitable because of the violence and the crime and the drug activity in her front yard. She came in here and talked about how she had to raise her children in her house because they could not play outside of her house. And all she did was come here to renegotiate a contract she had upheld for almost a decade. This was a working class mother trying to get some help because she found herself in a situation she couldn't live in and couldn't raise her children in. We renegotiated that contract, and then she came back again and pushed for an additional renegotiation to the tune of $30,000 or $40,000. I don't recall the exact amount, but this board rejected that attempt of hers to further renegotiate the contract under the simple notion that she signed an agreement. We'd already worked with her. We couldn't allow the taxpayers to bear her personal burden, which she had entered into. And it blows my mind that we're sitting here discussing whether to give more money to a lawyer and his millionaire clients who bought a piece of property, had all the means to develop that property, but chose not to for some reason. It blows my mind that we told a resident in a dire situation, sorry, you signed a deal, we worked with you to the extent we can, you're on your own. And here we are, that was a resident who did not violate a contract. Here we are working with a business owner who doesn't live in the city, who violated a contract multiple times, subsequently made promises to right those violations. And here we sit, and as Board Member Casello astutely described the situation, being held hostage, being told that the deed that was legally supposed to be returned to us a month ago will not be returned if we do not pay the sunk cost for this failed business venture. It just, for all the discussion around the country about inequity, if you put these two cases parallel to one another, I'm not going to paint the picture here, but you can tick off the characteristics of the people who are asking for their $50,000 back right now, and the individual who came before us and was not given $30,000 or $40,000 to cover some of her mortgage costs, and it would be a stereotype of what people describe as inequity in this country. Your client has failed over and over and over again, not through lack of means, but through lack of trying. I made a motion to proceed with legal remedy because that is our right, and you are in default of your contract. Your client is. I will not offer one penny to compensate wealthy business owners who failed to do what they're supposed to do, succeed in business, and now want a poverty-stricken region of the city to bear that cost. I refuse to do it, and if we had given this money out freely without such concern to everybody, then that precedent would be set, then that standard would be set, and that consistency would be there. But we have rejected other people who are far more deserving of as much, if not more, money from the CRA, and I cannot stomach offering 1 cent. I believe that the legal remedy, which you agreed not to pursue in the last addendum to this contract, mind you, you swore on behalf of your clients that you would not force this into legal action, and here we are. If the lies could build that property, it would be 10 stories tall. I'm done.
Just point of order, for the record, it was Mr. Labov who testified to you and did the things. I never made such a representation to you.
Member of your party.
Excuse me. All right, Board Member McCray.
Thank you. My take is, this project, this property itself has been a sore thumb here in this city ever since we took possession of this property as a CRA. I'm going to ask staff, how much money did we invest in this magnificent house, this little house?
The acquisition price in 2006 was $850,000, and we spent probably another 50 to 60 in architectural design fees to create the CRA's office at the time. That was the intent of the project in 2006 and 7, which obviously did not happen. So we're probably in for about $1 million into the property over time.
About $1 million for a little small house, and when it was put over there, I was like saying, who had the bright idea to even do such an atrocity for the city? I'm going to ask, I need to ask the question, because since we're doing the Town Square project, is there any way that this property on that corner, forget what's on the little house, can that be used as part of the Town Square project? I need staff to answer that, please. I'm just saying, I don't think you're at ability. I'm not trying to say you're not liberty, but I need to ask staff, the city managers here, those who's responsible for the Town Square project, which I set up here and approved.
Board Member McCray, are you requesting the city manager to come down to see if the property?
That's what I'm requesting, sir.
All right. Lori?
Lori Laveria, city manager. The project can be acquired by our developer, possibly. It's not part of the 16.5 acre development as it sits now, but I know there's a lot of interest in the surrounding properties. If somebody in the private sector would care to develop that land, sure. It would augment Town Square. That's very possible. Yeah.
Thank you. You answered my question. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none. Board Member Katz, would you mind with your motion regarding the taking legal fees to put the number of legal amount? I don't know how much money we currently have in our legal fund to file the lawsuit, but Tara, do you mind advising how much money we would want to put in before if we're going with that route that the motion is?
If you would mind, I would prefer to provide that to you next meeting to get that approved, a budget approved.
This is for this year, though.
You want it for the entire year?
Well, basically what we're asking is that do we need to move funds for this fiscal year to start with the lawsuit, or would we have to wait until next month before we move fiscal, so we could amend the budget to move funds to start?
According to the finance director, we have about $46,000 left in the project fund legal line item.
46,000?
46 in this current fiscal year.
Okay. So there's no need to move that forward. Okay, thank you. Board Member Casella.
Tara, and if we are successful in this pursuit, we do recoup our legal fees, is that correct?
There's a provision in the contract for prevailing parties to be awarded legal fees if the judge is inclined to award those. But yes, there's a provision in the contract calling for that.
Thank you.
No further discussion. Motion is for the first option, take no action, proceed with legal remedies in order to obtain the property under the terms of reverter and agreement addendum. All those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Nay.
Was that 2-2?
Vice Chair,
3-2.
did you vote? She did vote aye, so the motion passes 3-2.
3-2.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Yep. Moving forward, consideration and discussion of fiscal year 2018-19 budget.
Good evening, Board Chair and Board members. This item is our July meeting of the budget discussion for fiscal year 2018 and 19. And we have provided the board and our agenda backup on our website with the pages that you'll see on the screen now. And the first page gives you an overall perspective of our tax increment revenue and debt service general fund, and then the project fund. And I'm happy to go through that somewhat line by line in a quick summary, unless you had items such as our special events or marketing that you wanted to get into either after or before I begin.
I think if the board agrees that we start from the top and work our way down, when we get special events, we can talk about that then. Board Member Craig?
Thank you. Even before we start, I'm just saying, when we do tax increments usually go up, they don't go down. I'm just saying, I'm looking at fiscal year 18-19, 12,421,000. In fiscal year 19-20, we get 12,285,000. Why they drop? I'm just saying, my taxes go up, they don't always come down. I'm trying to figure out what's going on.
In that particular box, there could be a formula. We tried to stay flat on 2020 and 21. It starts to climb back up again, so I'm guessing that there's a mathematical error in the formula of that box for projections of future years. So currently, in the fiscal year 2018 and 19, as supplied by the property appraiser of Palm Beach County, our TIF revenue is estimated to be at $12,421,686 for the year beginning October 1st of 2018, running through September 30th of 2019. That's your first line. And then our estimated annual Marina revenue, which is...
Excuse me, board, I need to speak.
Yes, Board Member Craig.
Thank you. You're saying that was a formula, and you wanted to stay flat. It went flat from 21 all the way to 30. I'm just saying, was there something wrong with when you all figured this out for it to be a hell of a drop, and then all of a sudden it picked back going up?
Sure. If I can have the finance director just go into that box on the screen.
Please.
And perhaps we can determine what the issue was with the live spreadsheet.
Happened was we, number changed and.
Vicki, do you mind if I just say, the numbers up top, for full year 18-19, that is accurate from the property appraiser?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then full year 19-20, that is not from the property appraiser?
No, sir, we won't get that until.
And so basically, it's showing that it went down $150,000, which doesn't really affect this year, tax year, correct?
That's correct.
So I know that we went up $450,000 from last year to this year. can we just add $450,000 to all of them? And so that's what we'll think as the increase over the next few years? Board Member McCray, is that something you're okay with?
Here, no, because I'm just saying, you're picking out one saying that this is an estimate from the tax, all the rest of them, from 20, all 21, all the way to 30.
The 19 to 20 is not,
Those are formulas based on staff's input
Thank
of
you.
a very
That's what I'm saying.
conservative gain over the next 30 years. It's not representative of any factual number from the Palm Beach County Property Appraiser. We're using, as we did last year and the year before, our current year, the information we get on our projected revenue from the appraiser for the fiscal year that we're discussing, and then
I'm going to
really-
stop this conversation because this has nothing to do with this year's tax budget.
we didn't have to
And
show it
so
really.
I'm going to move forward. I'm sorry, Board Member McCray, but we're going to go on the first item.
Excuse me, Mayor, Chair, you don't have to be sorry, but I'm just saying, when you put things black and white, let me finish. I'm just saying, there was a formula that was given, I'd have felt better if we'd have just said, just have one thing just to go all the way across. I'm just saying, if John Doe picked this up, I'm just saying, they don't know anything about the formula. We're supposed to know about the formula. This is all I'm saying right now. It's not accurate. You want to do your 450,000, I'm fine with that, but I'm just saying, I want to know why that was a drop, and nobody's able to tell me, sir. Thank you.
Correct. Well, and Vicki will figure that out for tomorrow? Thank you. All right. So, would you like to look at the project fund allocation spreadsheet? Because that way we can discuss the budget for next year, rather than, I'm asking the board, is that okay? Rather than going through the estimates for the rest of this year that aren't likely to change. Okay, so Michael, there we go. So it looks like Town Square's taking the big chunk out of next year's budget.
Yes, sir. So at the top of the page on your budget allocation spreadsheet, the carry over from the previous page, which shows you your remaining projected budget as per the property appraiser, there should be a balance somewhere in the neighborhood of $6,170,803. Your current fiscal year's project fund, of the projects that you currently have in your budget this year, any projected overages or unused funds fall primarily in your property acquisition line item. They currently, we have $340,909 that is unencumbered or uncommitted. So I moved that number forward into the next column. You'll see in the gray, that's the 340. So your total project fund as of today to allocate in a draft form would be $6,511,712. In your committed, the very first item is the Town Square funding, and that's a commitment that the CRA has made to the city, projecting out until our sunset in 2044. And in this particular fiscal year, beginning in October, you have committed $3,700,000 to the Town Square project. That leaves you a balance to allocate as you feel appropriate of $2,800,011,712, and that is the number you'll see at the bottom of the screen. As we did last year, this is a live spreadsheet. You are able to, as a board, discuss how you see fit, and I've given you a little guideline on the in the green column of a staff projection.
So is the board's okay to move on to the next item of MLK Corridor redevelopment, where the staff recommended $300,000? And we have, the only problem is that we don't see that was in there currently of the 1.2 million from this year, correct?
Correct.
So, Board Vice Chair, you had your hand raised.
Yes, I'd just like to start out with saying maybe we should, instead of going down by down, because if we determine that we want 300, by the time maybe we get to Community Caring Center and we change numbers around, we may run out of funds because we've decided to do other things. But I would suggest that we basically choose one, perhaps that's like of importance per commissioner and basically probably just allocate the funds right there, and then we can kind of move around dollars after that. So for example, for me, in my opinion, I believe the 370 that's estimated or recommended by staff for a neighborhood police unit, I think that should definitely be a definite. I don't think that should be negotiated. I also feel that the
Board
economic...
Vice Chair,
Yes?
that was your one, so we're going to move on.
Can I say one more thing, Chair, please?
You did ask for one.
Okay, give me one more.
You want two now?
Yes,
Okay,
I'll say two. Last thing I'll say, and I'll shut my mouth, is the economic development grants, I feel, based on staff recommendations and based on what we've done this fiscal year alone, that 300 is too small, and I believe we should raise that to 500 and find it somewhere, in between all these other funds. So those are my two recommendations, and if the board is in agreement with that, then I'm fine with moving everything else around. Thank you, Chair.
Yep. So, Vicki, do you mind putting those numbers in? And what I would ask is that we're going to go down the line. So, Board Member McCray, make two recommendations that you would like to do. Out of the two that are unremaining, and if we go under, if we are in negative, then we will have to cut back from some of them. Is that, because it's okay if we rebalance this as we go along. Is that okay with the board?
I'm fine.
Huh?
I'm not last.
No, you're third. Joe's last. He's not,
He's out the door.
Yeah.
Okay, the MLK corridor redevelopment, 300,000 is not enough. I'm just saying we should go $500,000 there, and leave mine there because Vice Chair Romulus has already picked up two other ones of importance. I'm just saying that corridor needs to be $500,000 instead of 300,000.
How much, is there 1.2 unspent right now for MLK that's going to roll
Correct.
over this year?
In this fiscal year, you committed $1.2 million to the MLK corridor, which is identified in your RFP. So that's why it is not part of your reallocation of funds. I didn't add it into that.
So that bring that up to 1.5 million.
The 300?
The three would be 1.5 million, yes, sir. And as you know from current experience in the project fund, as the year goes on, if there are reallocations of the project fund that you need to do, is
Michael,
6 to 8 months.
Thank you. All right. And so, Board Member Katz, do you have an item you would like to put down?
What did we just plug in for MLK?
500,000 is what Board Member McCray said. And so what we're doing is we're going through saying what we would like and then coming back down kind of what the city manager told me she does when she's going through the budget.
Gotcha. All right, so I'm going to request this doesn't count as one of my one because I feel like it's obligatory professional development services, architectural, engineering, and legal. We have to pay for that stuff. We can't not budget for it. So is that?
So you get two then.
Right. So we plugged out 150 in for that so that we don't spend it. Thank you. Okay, property acquisition. We buy a good amount of property and, it's not only good for the short term, but the long term, depending on what we're trying to assemble. So, Michael, you're saying there's 340 unspent in the current year that ends in September?
Yes, sir.
Do we have any other properties currently in this fiscal year on the table that we're leaning towards purchasing without disclosing them if they're not publicly known yet?
None that would exceed your current available funding balance.
And what was the current year's total property acquisition allocation?
It would be, I'm going to say, Vicki is looking now. Thank you, Vicki.
State your name for the record.
Vicki Hill, CRA Finance Director. We allocated last year $766,435.
And staff is requesting on top of the 340 an additional 492, or is that the total?
That would be the total, the 492.
I think that's important to have that $500,000 in there for property acquisition. So 492.
That's staying at 492?
if everyone agrees.
Okay.
It's, you got your two.
Did I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It went by fast, I know.
Counted my legal services.
Yeah.
That was a joint benefit.
So I'm going to say the Community Caring
Noble
Center
hit.
acquisition for $250,000. I know that they received a variance there. It's, I think, going to increase the value for the remaining amount of the cottage district to not have the commercial location in the residential neighborhood. And then the other thing that I would like is, I went to the Boynton Beach Dive Center to learn about the lionfish invasion. And this past week, I also went to the Healthy Aquatic Marine Institute to learn more about the coral. I think that the CRA has done a poor job in really advertising our dive industry that is in Boynton Beach. I think we need to have a tournament to really effectuate what we have in Boynton Beach regarding a new industry that is definitely good for tourism and good for restaurants. And so I'd like to put $10,000 into the Marina Dive Tournament event.
Oh.
All the way at the bottom.
Got it.
And Joe?
Hey, you mentioned the Community Caring Center acquisition for $250. Now we have to relocate them. So we've got to talk.
Would you be thinking that as part of the MLK corridor redevelopment? So that, whatever money would there go with the $500,000 that Board Member McCray said?
If we can incorporate that and roll
Board
that into
Member
that.
McCray, would you consider the relocation of the Community Caring Center part of the
I
MLK?
was not going to consider that. I'm just saying, but it's just a rollover. I'm just saying if push comes to shove, if we have to do it, it'll be fine. But I'm just saying I wanted that money like for the MLK corridor redevelopment. And I really didn't consider Community Caring Center relocation a part of that corridor. But I'm just saying if that's the will of the board, it's fine with me. I'm just saying as long as we have money to do what we need to do.
That's good?
Good, yep.
Okay, do you have another one?
The
We got to do special events soon after this if you don't choose it.
All right, I'll take special events, how's that? 519, I think we've had that discussion, Mike, in our one-on-one, that we spent just about that number.
We were at 572 last
572
year,
last year.
and we brought it down to the 519.
Okay.
And we're prepared as staff to go over any cost savings that we can provide you tonight if you get to a place where you desire more funding in an area that we need to do that.
Vicki, how much do we have left now?
$20,000.
Club and the Marina Harbor Master Building? Those three.
I feel like those maintenance projects need to be prioritized because deferred maintenance will lead to more costly maintenance in the future. I know that I agree 100% that the economic development grants are extremely successful with Board Member Ramos, but I feel like that's something that, since it's more of a we don't know, we're just funding potential businesses, that's something we might be able to trim to pay for those maintenance costs. Hopefully with the development downtown and 500 Ocean and other things, it stimulates some natural business growth, so the need for incentives might decrease slightly. Just so, because we have to free up money somewhere to pay for those maintenance costs if we're inclined to for the Marina and the Women's Club.
I would agree with that.
So basically, can you say, or the way we're going to try to get this done is that if you're saying that the economic development grant should be less than $500,000, would you say that $400,000, $300,000, where would that money go?
If we put 220, it would fund the Women's Club and the Marina maintenance. I'm not saying all 220 should come from the economic necessarily, but
100,000 comes from the economic development because those are two economic developments within the CRA.
if we can find that other $120,000 somewhere else.
The other places would, so if you could take the economic developments down to 400,000, that gives us 120,000. We still need
100.
What is that, 225
What else? Cover everything.
is the total for the marketing, Historic Women's Club, and the Marina Harbor Master Building. We could say that we only put 100,000 into the Women's Club for this year. To see, it's not that we're going to do nothing this year, but it's taken more into steps. Yes, Board Member Casella, then McCray.
I'd like a little information on the Marina Harbor Master Building slips and site improvement. Didn't we, didn't we just do something there? That's fairly new.
Yes, sir. The building itself is, there is ongoing maintenance on the site that we have been doing in as needed basis around the settlement of our pavers in the large areas where we have pavers near the entrance. It is something we've been dealing with for quite a while as the subsidence of soils ebb and flow underneath the seawall. There are adjustments in the land behind the seawall that the Marina Village is dealing with, Banana Boat's dealing with, we now as waterfront owners are dealing with. And some of that subsidence is in the area where the most pedestrians are moving. So we are constantly, on an ongoing basis, just like the city would with the sidewalk, we're always adjusting the height of the pavers to be within the tolerance of a foot tripping or what have you. The building itself is on pilings, so the building itself doesn't move. The area around the building can move. And when it does, it throws the pavers off. So we feel like there is a project at hand that can make a more permanent solution to that, which would be to replace the pavers with a larger sod area, which would then create a smaller walking path that is more manageable for the public without impeding any kind of open space or activity area for our boat parade or anything else that we do there. There's also railings that will be ideally added onto the building to prevent movement over those thresholds of tolerance.
Okay, so my question, that's not something that has to be done tomorrow. It's not pressing. It's something we'd like to do.
The pavers this is an item that we would want to address. Now, if there's savings of the 60, that could go into another kind of unencumbered movement or rollover. But I think at the minimum, it's going to be somewhere in the $30,000–$35,000 range for that year. So we'll do with what we have to address those needs.
Was this issue or brought up like when this was being designed and built, that this could be a potential problem?
We have, as a result of the construction, as a result of operation 2 years out, and you start noticing the design element and the
So the answer is no?
The answer is no.
Okay.
Couldn't have known it beforehand.
So is it okay if we put the 30,000 there instead of the 60,000? Yes.
Better to overestimate than underestimate, so maybe like 40 instead of 30?
We want to put 40? We still have no marketing budget then.
Just as a reminder, no offense, Commissioner McCray, but the MLK corridor, that's just a savings, kind of like a bank account basically for the MLK project. Doesn't necessarily mean that anything may happen. So, we have some pressing things that need to get done, some administrative things that need to get done. I think those are some areas that we can also, just kind of reallocate. And the 1.2 is there, it's still going to stay there. Maybe we can just keep it at the 300 that's already allocated by staff and just kind of work with that 200 that we have, because we have a very small budget to work with and we have a lot of things that still need to get funded.
Board Member McCray.
Thank you. I'm not in favor of that, Vice Chair. The reason I'm saying that we have money that's there, we're going to use it anyway. My take is that we have been over-neglected, and I understand what you're saying. I know what the money is just there. We've been rolling over, and we've been rolling over for about 10 or 15 years. okay, if you want to go back to roll over, it's time to give us something that we need over there. I'm just saying, if something come up, fine. If not, you can use the money. I'm just saying, but, don't say, but it's just put it there, no. That money needs to be there. It just moves. It's like you said, it's a savings. That's what you've been doing, is saving on us and haven't been giving us anything. If anything come in, we want to be ready to at least jump on doing something for it. Right now, we're talking about the community caring center, so that might be a part of it. So then some of those funds are going to go there. That's one, I just want to say about that, but I had another thing while I have the floor. Okay, on Northwest 6th, because I only think I had one, 6th Avenue, this community garden, we have no money there, and I'm trying to figure out what is a community garden, not that I don't know, but on Northwest 6th Avenue, that corner down there, since the city has went in there and took out a lot of stuff that has no business there. The drug people are not in there. It don't look that bad now, and I'm just saying, although we don't have any funds, and I'm just saying we can continue to do what we're doing there, that's fine. But my question is that we have a garden club here in the city of Boynton, and I'm trying to want somebody to tell me, what do the garden club do? What is their purpose? And if this is a project that they can take on?
So basically, they're a nonprofit organization. I gave them $500 out of my community support funds, and that's the reason why that garden is there over the Forest Hill neighborhood, I think it's what it's called. The issue is that the CRA has a property right adjacent to it. This is something that the executive director says that we could put it as an affordable house. Maybe give the land away to Habitat or another nonprofit organization so that they could build a house right next to that. I had the idea of a community garden, but it's up to the board to what we can do with the 8,000 square foot lot there.
Okay, well, until we do something like that, I'm just saying, leave the community garden or whatever y'all want to call it the way it is. I'm just saying it's not that bad. Keep everything trimmed and the debris moved out. We're doing pretty good right there on that corner. I'm not trying to say allocate any money there, but we're going to utilize that a lot. But I was just wanting somebody to tell me what does the garden club in the city of Boynton, whether they are a 501c3 nonprofit. What are their duties? I'm just saying they're wearing the name of Boynton.
Vice Chair, then Board Member Casello.
So I was willing to come down to $400,000 for the economic development grants. I think it would be ideal to also perhaps bring down the MLK corridor to $400,000. That way, that would free up $100,000 to give us room to work within the budget for some other things in here.
Okay with that. Is anyone else? I see a thumbs up, so we got 3. All right, so Vicki, would you mind putting the MLK from?
I have 80,000 left.
Hey, how much do we have on the bottom?
80,000.
80,000. And we have no. Can we put the 80,000 in marketing, and then we have a budget?
Just for clarification, again, to kind of keep taking from Peter to pay for Paul here, if we perhaps bring down the line item for property acquisition from 492 to perhaps just 400 even, that also free up another 92. Do we expect to be buying up a ton of property, especially with all the construction and everything else that's going to be going on with Town Square and possibly Cottage and possibly MLK? Do we expect to be purchasing a lot of property in this upcoming fiscal year?
None that's identified as of now, and I think that's certainly a good decision as we are winding down to the need, definitely. We'll work within that budget.
All right. Board Member McCray.
Thank you. Vice Chair, you just said about, Town Square project. I don't want anybody here in the city of Boynton to think that all funds are going down to Town Square project and everything else is going to be neglected. This is what I'm saying, let the money stay there. If we don't need it, then use it. But I'm just saying, don't say, we're going to take this down because we're going to be doing a lot at Town Square. That means that we sound like we're sending out a message that we're not going to be doing too much in any other area. This is the feeling that I'm getting sitting up here tonight, and I'm not pleased with what I'm really hearing.
Oh, Commissioner, absolutely not. Just to clarify what I was saying, I simply said that I don't believe we'll be doing a lot of property acquisition because of the fact that we've been focused on that for such a while. We've just spent about $3 million purchasing that church. I think we've done a lot of property acquisitions, and if the opportunity comes up, then we'll entertain it. But I don't necessarily believe that that will be our priority. I'm not saying that we're going to be neglecting everything just to focus on Town Square. So that's already clear also by the line item here that we see for 3.7 million. So it's not the focus. Just want to make sure I'm clear on that.
All right, Board Member Katz, then Castillo.
Staff and the director, if you had the funds allocated for the Women's Club and the harbor, when would you anticipate moving forward with those projects? Like, are those kind of first half or second half of the fiscal year type things?
The Women's Club projects are things such as refinishing the floors, the wood floors in the building, interior and exterior painting. You could, you could look at doing the interior this year and the exterior the year after. We're putting on the roof now. There are some railings on the exterior of the roof that are going to need to be replaced. We're looking to find funding this year to do that. Between those two items, you have $240,000. Even if you go down to the 40, as you've suggested, there's about $165,000 to $180,000 worth of items in the Women's Club itself that could be done this year. But it would be a matter of bidding that out, and it would be certainly done between now and February.
So it would be the first half. I was going to say, if you can push some of those maintenance projects to the second half, you'd be able to better ascertain if there was potential leftover funds from property acquisition or MLK. And at that point, it's less, we're not taking the money up front and saying we're not going to use it. We're waiting a certain amount of time and saying we haven't used it. Maybe now it's more freed up.
Yes, sir. We could do that. We could do the floors first while we have some time down with the roof, and then assess that timing on the painting. Yes, sir.
Board Member Castillo, then Board Member McCray.
Michael, we have a RFP out for that MLK corridor, don't we?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir. The RFP is due
The one for
back in August 20, and your Cottage District RFP is due on July 17th.
So we should be knowing real shortly as far as we any interest in the MLK corridor, correct?
Yes, sir. It will be presented at the September meeting, which is your last night, theoretically, of your, or essentially your last night of budget discussion. So those presentations would be made in September for the MLK corridor and August for the Cottage District. And as we did last year, each month, there will be adjustments made to existing accounts that will add unencumbered funding to your allotment. If you remember, each month last year, you had a little bit more each month as the accounting department, the finance department begins to start closing out accounts with excess dollars in them. That could be everything from the crab boards, funding to anything else, really, even POs that are not being expended. So tonight, you're challenged with a number, and I would say that at the August meeting, you'll have additional funding, an amount I don't know, but it would be more than you have this evening. Is that fair to say, Vicki?
Hello.
How much we?
Yes, you're next.
Thank you. Michael, let me ask the question. We have Ocean Breeze East out, okay. Do we have any funds allocated in this range that we're talking about tonight? If they come in and say we need X amount of dollars, do we have money to do what we said that we was going to do?
Yes, sir.
Promise them?
Yes, sir.
How much do we have to do, sir?
$567,500, and that is money that you have approved in this current fiscal year.
I just want to hear it for the record.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
You're welcome.
What's our bottom line now? What do we?
We're at $92,712.
That cover marketing? Is that including marketing?
Marketing is already covered.
Oh, you want to put the extra 5,000 for 85,000 for marketing?
So what's not covered? Because I can't see.
Oh, I'm
Go down
sorry.
the list. Could you go down and read the allocations?
Please, thank
Because I'm
Yes.
Yeah, before I want to go, I did want to talk about the Blarney Bash. because I was looking at the date and it wasn't on the Friday before St. Patrick's Day, it was on a Sunday. And I think, we've always had it on a Friday, and so I kind of want to continue having it on that Friday. We're planning on to do it in the Marina this time and get stages. Is that the address?
Blarney Bash this year would be done in between, it's currently projected and described to be between US 1 and like the 3rd Street on Ocean Avenue, between in front of 500 Ocean, Hurricane Alley, and over the tracks 480 and Dewey Park in that area. That's correct, right?
Okay, so it's not the 735 Casa Loma.
No, that's one of our Rock the Plaza events.
Okay, so
If you'd like to see those maps, we have them available as well.
for me, I'd like to, continue having Blarney Bash on the Friday before. Because not too many, even though it's not necessarily, it's an Irish event, not a drinking event, most people are drinking, and it's never a good idea, to have people out late Sunday night, so.
It worked out well last year, it just happened to fall on the
Yeah, and the
day.
year before, we did it the day before,
Yes,
because,
sir.
St. Patrick's Day was on a Saturday, and then I was looking way
11th.
back, 3 years ago, we had it on the 11th, so I'm okay with having St. Patrick's Day.
Mercedes is
Blarney
giving me
Bash
the
on
thumbs up,
15th.
so we're okay.
Okay. Yes, Vice Chair Romulus.
Okay, so I will take one last one since it seems like everybody's kind of done and we have a little bit of money left over. I'd like to still allocate funding towards a nonprofit grant because that was the first year that we did it. It seemed to be successful. We did it for $125,000, so I guess whatever remainder that we have left now here, which is the 92, I would propose we at least put that in there. This helped a lot of our local nonprofits, like the CCC, like P2P. So some of those organizations are doing good work in the community. I'd like for those things to continue. So that would be my proposal for the remainder of the funds to go into a nonprofit grant.
Board Member Castillo.
Yeah, the additional parking on East Boynton Beach Boulevard, Michael, is that done by the church we just acquired?
No, sir, this would be across Federal Highway on East Point Beach Boulevard as you head into where there's the Promenade Walkway and Pete's Pond. And we were going to piggyback on a project that the city was going to do with those landscape islands, but given the Ocean One status and other projects, it could be something that you push off, but it would be to add additional parking in that area.
So that's a potential $125,000 we might not be using.
No, it's not.
No, I don't, and
It's not in
there
our
are some
yellow.
city staff here, but I'm not going to put them on the spot. But we had 125 in this year's budget that we pulled out to move to the US 1 corridor project with FDOT. And this would be, the 125 is to match the 75,000 that the city had to replace the existing landscape raised islands in the strip from Boynton Beach Boulevard east to Marina Way, which is at the very east end of East Boynton Beach Boulevard.
Okay,
There's a roundabout.
I got it.
Okay.
Saying next meeting, there could be a couple hundred extra $1,000.
Yes, sir. I think that's fair.
Okay. I would earmark that as potential place for some of that money to land.
Board Member McCray.
Thank you. My take is that, I don't like to keep sitting up here talking about how much we have left and then say, well, let's put it someplace else. Let's put it someplace else. I like for a budget, whenever I'm doing one, to have something on the bottom line, and then we could always move money around. We've been moving around in the CRA ever since we had a CRA, and I'm just saying, let things stay the way that they are, that we need to move money. Let's move money like we always did, because we already moved $100,000 from MLK. So I'm just saying, let's get this budget, let it be a working template, and when we have to do, we can always amend the budget.
Does the board okay for this tentative budget, and we can move forward with the next item? So I guess the way it works is the CRA board going to look at this, and then we're going to come back to make a final budget
Yes, sir.
in August or September?
Yes, sir. The CRA will review your recommendations this evening, provide feedback to you at the August meeting. You'll then do this exercise again in August, and then again in September.
Really, we have to do it twice?
You don't have to. If you,
Okay,
if
if
you
we get it right
learn
on
as
August,
he's
we
telling
don't
us.
have to do it again? Okay. All right. Vice Chair?
Can Vicky just still read down the list of what we've
That's a great idea.
allocated?
Thank you.
Starting at the top with Town Square, 3.7 million. MLK Corridor redevelopment and possible community caring center relocation for 100,000. Property acquisition, 400,000. Economic development.
Wait, stop. You done lost me. MLK Development Corridor, I'm just saying, I said $500,000 addition. Now you're telling me what,
Went down to 400,000.
well, she just said 100,000 with the reallocation.
No,
Minus
no,
100.
I said
No.
400,000.
You said 4.
From 5 to 4, minus 1.
Yeah, I know it went down to 4, but it looked like we lost some more money just that quick. I said what you just said about the MLK Corridor, and then put this caring kitchen in there, whatever they call it. I'm
The
just saying.
community caring center
Yeah, whatever.
relocation.
Yeah.
I just said possible when you all were speaking about that. I put it up there. If you don't want it there, I can take it out.
Because it's on the Northeast 9th Avenue, and part of the MLK corridor would be to continue Northeast 3rd Street from 9th Avenue to 10th Avenue or Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard.
Let it stay there, because I'm going to need to see that right in front of me. I'm just saying, let it go.
All right,
It's
thank you.
coming back to us.
Okay.
Okay. Property acquisition, 400,000. Economic development grants, 400,000. Neighborhood policing unit, 370,000. Special events, 519,000. Marketing business assistance, 80,000. The Historic Women's Club of Boynton Beach, we have 100,000. The Marina, we have 40,000. Professional development services, 150,000. 250,000 for the community caring center acquisition. We have for the nonprofit grant, $92,712, and for the Marina Dive Tournament event, $10,000. That
Just-
will put us at a zero.
Vicky, just for clarification, the community caring center relocation, that's up with the MLK Boulevard money, right?
Correct.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right. We have a consensus to move on.
Wait a minute, what was the balance with all of this? What was going to be left?
Nothing is left.
Zero. You
We're at zero.
you balanced out at 0.
That's 0.
Close your eyes, what do you see? Nothing.
So moving on to
Very
item
good. Thank you,
13C,
Board.
Boynton Beach Boulevard Streetscape Improvement Project Update.
Yes, good evening. Tweesha for the record. This item was before you in January 18th for the 50% completed design drawings and probable cost estimate along with the additional supportive documents. We're back here at 60% completion. We have several good news to give to the board regarding this project. First of all, I'll take you back to where we left off. We present to the board the lighting, the landscape palette, as well as the pavement. The board selected the wave pattern. And then we also were asked to bring back various extents of the treatment for the pavement. For the color concrete was what the board had reached a consensus on. On attachment 3, we also provided the extent of which the FDOT project for the interchange for the capacity resolution for trying to enlarge the bridge there as well as move more traffic along that intersection. The colored concrete that was asked of us to bring back is really to look at the pattern and the costs having to do with what it would be like if you were doing an uninterrupted wave and then an interrupted wave. And then also the third scenario would be the wave pattern at the intersection only. That has been provided to you on attachment 5 of your backup. Just as a quick correction at the time of the staff report, those numbers in the staff report was given to us. There were some update to those numbers. The board had asked staff and our consultant, Kimling Horn and Associates, to look at the remaining costs from our project, US 1 to Northwest 3rd. We had the calculation with that, but we wanted to have them calculate the remaining costs, which included the blocks that's under the FDOT's project, which is Northwest 3rd to the I-95 interchange. So I can go those numbers with you just for correction. So we have updated numbers. For the continuous wave, it's $159,000. For the gaps, it's $135,000, and for the corners and intersection, it's $52,500. Since that time, March 2nd, staff and Kimberly Horn, as well as assistance from the city engineer and city staff, we had submitted a grant to the TPA, Transportation Planning Agency, for their local initiative grant. We had submitted a total of $2.2 million in requests from the Federal Highway Administration funds. We are happy to report to you that we are on 4th on the list of receiving the money. It has to go through their Technical Advisory Committee, as well as their Citizen Advisory Committee in the beginning of September, and the final approval by the TPA board will be on September 20th. So we'll know what funds we will get from there. The good thing is that it will pay for a lot of our beautification for the complete streets, meaning there will be reduction in the lane there'll be provision for bicycle and pedestrian enhancement, as well as lighting along there and landscape nodes. The bad thing is, with their grant, it's based on their fiscal year, so it's a 5-year program. So the funds will not be available until 2023. We provided in your backup their grant approval, their grant process, as well as our grant application that went through the DOT's review. With that also, 60% design plans have been submitted to the city staff and has received some comments from the utilities department as well as the engineering department. Mr. Jonathan Haig from Kimberly Horn is here to answer any questions, and if there's any other questions of me, I'll be here as well. So the board option or action is needed today is for approval of the concept, one of those 3 concepts, and I'll go ahead and.
Thank you, Tweet. This is a very significant, I think, step for the city and the CRA as a team for this application to the TPA. It was a lot of work, and I think it is going to pay off, and I think it's something to be really proud of, our efforts on that. Thank you.
This is the wave concept that the board had selected for the concrete. I don't know if the members of the public can see it as clear, but it's a beautiful distinct wave to reinforce the Marina theme that we have at the end of the corridor. And
Wasn't as expensive as the terrazzo or, can you give us a rundown? It's been a while of this choice compared to the other ones.
Sure. Actually, this image is a kind of a representation of the colors, the blue colored concrete, not exactly what we're showing for the wave concept.
Right, because I remember it was a different design.
Right.
It was an actual wave.
Do we have the
like a crest.
patterning sheet? Here it is.
5.
So this image here, and it might be
You can zoom that.
difficult to see. Got 3 different concepts here. I'll scroll down the page a little bit as we go through, but we're looking at an idea where the blue colored concrete would be continuous down the street. The second concept would have some gaps in it, probably situated around where we've got driveways or other potential conflicts where we wouldn't want to have any kind of future work there. And then the third concept would just be placing the waves at the corners, again, probably just minimizing the amount of the colored concrete and the extent of it. The rest of the concrete on the street would be a gray concrete.
So that is the choices of, for the board tonight.
Costs again, Jonathan, for the broken and then the
full
corners?
length. Yeah, right now we're looking at the treatment cost alone, which we're looking at is probably going to be around $15 a square foot. That is using a white cement concrete, which is going to express the blue color the best. We would use a blue inorganic colorant, which would allow that pigment to last a lot longer than an organic colorant would be. Lasts longer in the pavement, takes the washing and maintenance that's required to keep it nice and long lasting. The investment for the entire length of the project from I-95 to US 1 for just the color treatment alone is $510,000 for the wave concept. The gapped concept is about $390,000, and just the intersections and corners would be $180,000. It's not a direct subtraction because you're going to have to add regular concrete back in for some of these.
One question, then I'll let you go. What is the expected operations and maintenance costs per year or every 5 years?
Maintenance is fairly easy. It is a regular sweep and clean to keep dirt off of the sidewalks like you'd normally do.
Power washer would work?
A pressure washing is good, but a low pressure, like around 3,000 psi, you're not going to want to put 10,000 psi on a focused nozzle on it. A sealant, a water-based penetrating sealant is probably good every 3 years to kind of keep the color vibrant.
But could you give us an estimate every 3 years?
It depends on which treatment you'd use, but probably, let's say, I don't know how much the cost would be for that, but we could probably get an estimate for you if you needed it. Do you have a pressure? Do you guys do pressure washing on or sealing on any of your current pavers?
That's a question we can ask the city.
Okay.
We can get that back to the board.
So that's something that we'll look into, I guess.
Right.
For next meeting, the operations and maintenance of it. I'm happy with the gaps. It's somewhere in the middle. The other thing is that if we could use some sort of design to let people know that that's also where a bus stop is.
Right.
And so we have, so it's like you said, we're not going to have it on driveways or entrance and exits. And I think that would probably work out best somewhere in the middle. Commissioner, Board Member Casella.
And that was going to be my question. That full wave that goes the full length of the walkway, do you have to break it off like at driveways? Is that how it works?
Right now, the design we have in our plans, if I can zoom in a little bit more here.
I got it in front of me.
Maybe you can see it. The driveway aprons themselves, we're leaving as regular concrete. We would then color behind it on the both the continuous wave concept and then the gapped concept. In some places, there might be that blue that goes on the back of the driveway.
All right.
Board Member Katz.
I'm a big supporter of the full wave just because I think if, we talk a lot about Boynton Beach Boulevard and eventually that road's going to have to develop itself and have the newly zoned commercial frontage. I think that, one way to attract people in addition to what we're doing in Town Square and on the northeast side is to invest in Boynton Beach Boulevard. I don't want to shortchange it because that's the entranceway to the city and it's potentially a commercial corridor in the next 5 to 10 years. I don't think if we do the gaps or the intersections, it's not likely that we'll improve on them, in the next 10 or 20 years or whatever the life cycle is of this type of treatment. So I'm big in investing in the full wave now and creating a draw and a hook for the Boynton Beach corridor.
I'd like to get back to us and give us a cost on that maintenance.
Okay, we'll coordinate with the city and see what they're currently doing on their maintenance for sealing pavers.
The additional significance of this grant award, if we're chosen, would be almost like a direct offset of FDOT accepting under that grant the costs of the road work and the things that would happen inside the road, which would free us up in funding to do these other types of customizing and placemaking and entrance featuring that we're talking about tonight. So that's another great possibility.
So just a quick note on the grant. We had originally asked for 1.9 million. And the reason why they awarded 2.2 is there were some negotiating back and forth with our consultant and DOT for additional lighting. DOT will pay for what is currently there. Anything extra, like if we had a 6-foot sidewalk and we're proposing a 9-foot sidewalk, they'll pay for the extra 4-foot, but they won't pay for the additional pavement, decorative pavement. So there's a quick, a little more nuances in calculating that, but just to let the board know, if we didn't have the DOT grant, we would be paying a total of $2.7 million. So our cost share for locally for this project, to get the $2.2 million, the local non-participating items, as DOT calls it, would be $538,653. So we're getting $2.2 million for about a little over $500,000. So I think that's a really good deal in my perspective, and this will free up a lot of some of our funds to do this, or else we would have to fund this totally on our own and still wait for them to do their portion of the interchange.
Vice Chair.
So if you can just please clarify, what is the total estimated cost that we're looking at for doing this project?
What budget year we would need that?
It will be as part of the $500,000. We also submitted another grant for the federal grant for $600 and something thousand. We haven't heard back from that, and that was going to cover some of the sidewalks. If we're successful in getting that, we would need to look at their compliance requirements and when to spend that, because their timing is a little different. So we can also report back to the board on that matter as well. So we're going to try as much as possible to align our costs with some of the grants so that the local dollars can stay locally for other things that the board would like to spend on.
Haven't answered the question. Please answer the question.
Total would probably, our total for the project would be $538,000. But the pavement would be the additional cost on top of the concrete. So it's not
Vice Chair, are you asking what the total cost of the project would be irrespective of a grant or anything else?
Yes, please answer that question.
$2.7 million.
So I remember we mentioned in the past somewhere around the neighborhood of 11 to 12 million. Was that an overestimate, or were we talking about a different, what was that number? Is that different from this, or has the price significantly come down?
I believe those are the estimate when they first looked at the whole corridor.
Right. So now, based on re-estimation, the entire corridor from 95 to Federal is $2.7 million. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, from Federal Highway to Third.
Third, okay.
Okay.
Right. Is 2.7.
2.7 based on DOT's calculations. They have certain unit prices.
Okay, and then we perhaps, or in some time frame, will be getting 2.2 from DOT. Or TPA.
Yes, after September 20th, we will know if we've got that, and there'll be a grant agreement that will be going to the city for the allotted dollars from DOT, and then those funds will be available in 2023.
Okay, and then there's another possibility that we may get another 600,000.
We could, yes, with the
So you're saying
federal.
that this project could be fully funded?
I can't say fully,
Well,
but
I'm saying
mostly,
could.
yes.
There's a caveat of could, yes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So still the question was, which one did we want to choose, whether it be the full gaps or intersections? Is that the only answer you need tonight from us?
Yes, that's the only answer.
The last question, just for clarifying, to answer your question, Mayor, that 2.7 or all these numbers, what does that include? The gaps, the intersections, or the full? What does that number include?
That will not include the decorative pavement.
Okay, so it doesn't?
No, it just includes gray concrete.
So
That's all
what's
DOT will pay
that
for.
part that we're responsible for? I'm just trying to figure out what the funds are.
yes.
I'm kind of lost in there. So where is it, or what is it?
It depends on which concept you choose.
Right,
but
so let's just say that we go for the full wave, as Commissioner Katz or Board Member Katz
510
proposed.
minus
What
160.
would that be? The 123,000
So it's 300 and
Something,
350? $350,000 for the full wave concept
okay.
from third until US 1.
Okay, in addition to the 2.7.
In addition to, but there's some subtraction there because we're replacing what would be a regular gray cement concrete
I see.
with
It's-
the colored concrete. So there's a little different formula there.
You're
but
filling it.
It's around 350
You're
grand.
filling it, got it, so it's 350, and then just recalculate for if we do the intersection, that
Correct.
would be like, whatever the difference is.
Right, that'd be about 130 grand for
Okay.
just the intersections, and then the other concept would be 250 something grand.
Understood, thank you very much for clarifying that.
Yes, Board Member Cray.
Thank you. I'm not clarified, sir, because you said the entire length will be $510,000, but the gap
Correct.
would be $390,000.
The entire length from 95 to US 1 was 510, but if we're just going from third until US 1, it's 350.
I see.
And the reason
So-
we're going from third is because of the construction on
Correct,
Boynton Beach Boulevard.
correct.
Got it.
And so
Right,
that's,
give me the figures again from third then. It's not funny, sir, I'm writing this stuff down.
Sorry, $350,000 from
Thank you.
third to US 1.
And what's with the gaps?
250.
Okay, and just concrete by itself.
About 125, I guess.
All right, thank you.
All right.
all right, well, if we're only doing from the third to federal, I'll be changing it to the full wave. Okay. So, do we have consensus, consensus for the full
Full wave
wave?
for me.
All right, I think we have,
Yes, the board
I'll
has-
make a motion to that effect.
I'll second that.
all right, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes unanimously. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Moving on to the Saracens project update.
Again, Jonathan again. This item was before the board again, January 18th, and we procured the services of Kimley Horn once again to do the Saracens improvement at a cost of $116,600. We are at 90% completion right now. There was some protraction in the timeline for the design because we were trying to value engineer to meet close to our budget as possible. And also with the city's help, the city would like to break that one bid rather than having it go out for bid for one firm to do or one company to do it. The city is breaking the scope down so that it allows smaller entities to bid on it. A lot of the items could be self-performed by the city, meaning the city can serve as a general contractor, which will produce some cost savings as well. The action before the board now is to look at and review and give us comments on the plan. I will bring that up in shortly, so that we can make the final revision and then have the rendering revised so that we can distribute to the public to make sure that they're aware of the project and the design. Mr. Gary Dunmeyer, the city engineer, will also be here if there's any question regarding the bidding process as well as the phasing, the construction phasing.
Board Member McCray.
Thank you. I'm getting a little confused, I'm saying, because the city's given us one timeline, CRA's given us another timeline, the community is here in another timeline. Can somebody get on the right timeline and give me the right timeline? Because I'm just saying, you're telling me one thing tonight. The city manager told me something already, saying, right around the summer, and then you all are saying, we got to do this now and do that. I'm just saying, when will we go out to the public and say, this is where we at now? This is what we can anticipate we will start. I'm just saying, I need some concrete times as close as possible instead of, the city giving us one date, you all giving us another date. When will somebody come together and say, this is the timeline that we are all on now? Because we're not on the same page.
And I can give that up, the floor up to Mr. Dunmeyer. Our timeline, just so you know, is the overall project from start to complete. Gary can go into the timeline that the city anticipates managing the bidding process and construction project.
Good evening. My name's Gary Denmeyer, City Engineer. I've anticipated your question, Board Member McCray, and I've produced this slide. That help? Okay, there we go. And I think what you're concerned mostly with at this point is the construction, where we are with construction. And so we're anticipating starting August 1st, and then it'll carry us through to May 3rd of next year. And then the only thing that I haven't included on here is the park is anticipated, in my mind, to open May 3rd. We're going to still have another month of punch out, but I didn't think that was important to put here. So this is my timeline.
That's if we approve the...
Correct.
Without making any sort of modifications.
Yes,
All
sir.
right. So, is there any discussion from the board regarding any modifications?
It's not from the board, Chair. I'm just saying, once we go out and start presenting plans to, the community, then this is where we might, get input that might change some of this. I'm just saying, but we could stay with that same timeline, and then we go out and see what they say, and then we can all kind of get a happy medium. But right now, I don't know what that happy medium was.
All right.
But now, if we can stay where we are, I'm good.
Okay. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none? All those in favor? Yes, Vice Chair.
Feel free. All those in favor?
Say it again?
All those in favor?
Yeah, all those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion
Why
passed.
did you do that?
I just wanted to say something, but I wanted to let him finish his thought. I just wanted to say thank you, Gary, for preempting Commissioner McCray's thoughts.
Oh, thank you.
That's not an easy thing to do.
It's not
No,
easy.
not easy, not with me.
All right. On to item 13E, consideration discussion of the letter submitted by the Community Caring Center Boynton Beach, Inc. for their property located at 145 Northeast 4th Avenue, Boynton Beach, Florida.
Good evening, Board Chair. We've kind of touched on this item during our budget discussion. The request being made by the Community Caring Center as an entity is to sell their property to the CRA when located in the Cottage District, use those funds for a relocation and a construction of a new building that they are estimating would cost 9,000 square foot building, will cost approximately $2 million to build. And the funding that they have accounted for this project is about $875,000 in their own sources, and that leaves a gap of about $1,150,000 that they are requesting the CRA entertain or find some amount in that range to assist with the relocation and construction of their new facility. That new facility is on land that the CRA and city share ownership, in addition to the roadway that will be built between Northeast 9th Avenue and Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. I know that Sherry and her board, some of her board are here this evening. I don't have an anticipated cost for the road yet, but depending on the board's position on the item, we would follow up with more details on that cost of the street improvements. We're looking at, there's now currently not a road at all or sidewalks or drainage of any kind. It would be a great improvement to this location in the corridor, but there are obviously items in the request that the board will have to deliberate over.
Yes, Board Member McCray.
No, he was first.
All right, Board Member Katz, then Board Member McCray.
I'll start by saying that I think what the Community Care Center does is amazing, and I fully support everything they do, and I like that we've been able to support them to this point. That being said, I can't comprehend a scenario where we allocate $1.2 million to a single entity for a nonprofit redevelopment. I just can't comprehend it. I don't know how much we've ever given an individual business of this size, nonprofit or otherwise, but I just can't comprehend giving $1.2 million in addition to, annual funds that are allocated or obtained through grants. It's just, if someone can help me comprehend how we can give $1.2 million to a single nonprofit when we just allocated like only 90,000 for all the remaining nonprofits for the next fiscal year. Someone help me understand this.
All right, Board Member McCray.
Thank you. I'm right with, first time I'm agree with Board Member Katz. I'm trying to get somebody to help me understand too, sir. I'm with you.
First time you've been right.
First thing. Wow.
Board Member Casella.
We have Sherry Johnson come up.
Yep.
Got to give your name.
Sherry Johnson, Community Caring Center.
All right, Ms. Johnson, we have a gap here, almost 1.2 million. Now, I'm looking at the thing here, and you got it down as 9,000 square feet. Can you explain why it has to be 9? You're currently working out of something like 3,800 square feet?
A little more than that.
Okay.
When you take a look at where the Sacred Garden, the Culinary Small Business Development Center, is located, that whole complex is about 3,500 square feet. And then if you look at the Caring Center Social Service Office, that's about 1,600. So it's around 5,100 square feet total that we're occupying, and we are squeezed to the max there. We really need twice that space, but I don't think that on your property with the parking restrictions that we can go much more than 2 floors and 9,000 square feet. The reason that we need that much space is because we've moved forward with a couple of amazing projects. One is the Culinary Small Business Development Center, which is to the max and is currently producing jobs and small businesses that are moving into retail space for the CRA area. The other one is with our senior care program, which is an amazing project and is starting to be duplicated in other communities this year. We have been doing senior meals, and that is now expanding to a contract to do chronic meals program. We're working with a healthcare agency. We expect to be producing more chronic meals, like close to 54,000 of them this year. The additional impact in need for kitchen space is incredible. We were contracted last year to do job training with the county, and so we have a food prep and culinary training class that is going on site. So the thought of us as being this small little organization set within the heart of Boynton that provides food and rent assistance and utility assistance is really no longer characteristic of what the organization is today. The organization is huge, and we touch thousands of people with our services, and we're producing tremendous results. So in order for us to have a large enough kitchen to accommodate the 20 or 26 small business incubator businesses that we're developing, and for them to grow and expand and add employees and jobs and continue to move out and be viable businesses within Boynton Beach is huge. The need for kitchen to accommodate job training programs and provide job opportunities, and our job fair that complements that program is increasing. And the need to be able to produce meals. Our senior care program is a program that assists seniors to age in place. And food is one of those things that helps those seniors age in place. to do that, there is a waiting list throughout the county of over 6,000 seniors that with all of the agencies within the county providing meals, they cannot reach all 6,000 that continue to be on a waiting list. So we are situated with United Way to come up with ideas as to how we can address that need. As we move forward with our senior care program and helping them to age in place, it relieves the tax burden from citizens. It's a huge tax burden to put people in assisted living, particularly low-income seniors who are struggling or living alone. This is, in Palm Beach County, we've factored the number that we're probably relieving the tax burden for Palm Beach County residents to over $1 million with our programs for seniors. Did I cover it?
About everything.
Thank you.
Let me ask you this question. Could this be something that be built in stages? I know you need 9,000. That'd be the ideal space for you, maybe even bigger. With that being said, could this be done in stages like this year and maybe the following year? I see you can come up with a mortgage of $300,000 somewhere in that vicinity if need be. That would help.
Well, here's the deal. That ground floor is substantial, and we think that we can only push that footprint out to about 5,200. And all of that needs to be for kitchens and walk-in coolers and freezers. A little bit for the food pantry and ability to do mass food distribution. And that's going to cover the ground floor. There is still no place for offices. So for all of the counseling that we do and, the emergency assistance and online applications and staff meetings and stuff, we'd still have to go buy another or rent another building to be able to have offices for that. So we'd like to be able to do it. I think the project is going to take 2 years, so we're not expecting all of that to come up within 1 year's budget. There's this year that we will be negotiating and setting up closings, to acquire the property, get everything titled, and then we'll be going through our fundraising and our grant applications. Those grants, take some time, and it could be 6 months to a year before those grants are funded. So actual construction, we're not looking to begin until the year 2019-20, which would be the actual construction. So the closing on the purchase of the caring center and the acquisition of the 3 lots that you're offering would be stage 1, year 1, could probably take place in this fiscal budget. So that would probably be what we were hoping in our last letter to achieve of about $750,000 for this particular budget. In the following year, as those grants come in, we would actually begin our site plan. And so perhaps some of that gap financing that we're asking you to assist us with could be in the development of Northeast 3rd Street, the lighting, the sidewalks. Perhaps there could be a site plan development grant that could cover some of the cost, soft cost. Perhaps there are permit fees that could be waived. Those kinds of things. Instead of getting the lots and having to do a unification of title, then perhaps there's a way that you could do that. So it comes to us and we don't have to pay an attorney or someone to do that. So we'd like you to take a look at the things that you guys do anyway and see if there isn't some way in 2019 with perhaps another $250,000 or $300,000 site development grant that we would be able to apply for, that would be in that second year. And then as we begin construction, and the permitting fees could be included. So I think that if you put your heads together and you're pretty creative, and you look at the plan from 2018-19 fiscal year, 2019-20, and we hope to have a ribbon cutting in 2020-21. And then I retire.
So, Michael, is this something that we could talk about as far as doing it in stages or helping out? Obviously, it doesn't have to be all in one lump sum, okay? It sounds like it's at least a two-year plan, if not a three-year plan.
Yes, sir. I would suggest that you, any assistance that you consider providing this project is looked at as a whole project and not a grant form or some type of special assistance. It would really be looked at more as a purchase and development agreement and a development of relocation for the cottage district, the corridor. I would suggest that you consider all of the elements that you would like to contribute over the next year or two as an organization. That would be written into that agreement for the acquisition, and then you have timelines and additional assistance that thresholds are met that you could provide assistance. We are actively, as a CRA, regardless of this project, we are going through the process as staff, which we would do of the alleyway abandonment of the alley to the east of the property. We are requesting the property from the city, so we'd want to create the unity of title. We are doing boundary surveys, we're doing roadway surveys. There is a lot of work on the front end that we are doing that would certainly be shared and of benefit as a development, just as a CRA. So I think there are some indirect costs that would be reduced because of the work that we're doing. It really is, aside from anything that Tara may say to you, I think in a nutshell, that's how I would suggest you do it. And really, it's up to the board's discretion on how much or how or when that you do that. But as a statutory involvement, I think that there is some basis for that according to the analysis that I asked Tara to give us prior to the meeting.
Yeah, and just to summarize that, the statute's very clear that in performing your redevelopment efforts, relocation of businesses, nonprofits, and individuals, which are expressly named in the statute, is permitted. So when I saw this request and was asked to look at it, it fell into that category for me as a relocation cost, not separate and apart from the way that the Community Caring Center comes before you in its nonprofit capacity. So I think the information she has provided is very important for the costs that she's put into the request, but I think structuring it as part of that overall consideration of the purchase is the better way to go from the CRA's perspective. But that's not to say you couldn't time the payments over a course of years in the agreement.
Okay, so where do we go tonight with this?
My suggestion is that we just finished the budget for, the tentative budget where we allocated the $250,000 to the acquisition. We moved the relocation as part of the MLK corridor. I think the next step is to hear from the CRAB board to see what they also want to do regarding a recommendation. I know, and that way we can come back next month. Because if we include the numbers that we put in with the MLK 400,000 and the acquisition fee at 250,000, we're at 650. And so that's not very far off from 750. And so it's more of a question, I think, get a recommendation on the CRAB board because so we can move forward with next year's budget, knowing what we're going to spend and how we're going to spend it and what we're going to get from it. Vice Chair?
This is a question for Sherry or any member of her board who's willing to answer, but how much work has been done by your organization to seek funding elsewhere outside of just the CRA? For example, you mentioned a lot of things that you do that are by request of the county. Have you sought funding from the county or, again, outside entities to help with what you're trying to do here?
Been laying the groundwork for that over the last year by meeting with the various commissioners and supporting additional grants that could be made available to us. Some of our programs have been subsidized by fundraising, so as those grants come in, it would alleviate and be able to add that into our fundraising efforts, which we're committed to provide substantially. There are 3 foundations that we're already receiving funds from in the past. They were significant in raising the millions of dollars that were needed for the Lord's Place several years ago. And I've already been in conversation with 2 of those funders. I would expect that that's quite possible. Another one would be the Kresge Foundation, which does bricks and mortar. We've met the gentleman who operates the Kresge Foundation in West Palm Beach, and we have the contact. It would require participating from the city and the CRA. The project has to have both of you as a partner before the Kresge Foundation would consider funding. That could be as much as $250,000. So
when you say they need us as a partner, what does that mean?
Well, like you're buying our property, we're buying yours. The city owns a lot.
Are we technically already a partner in that sense?
I'm sorry?
Are we technically already a partner in that sense?
Partner might not be the same way, I don't want to say partnership, but we are collaborating, I think might be a better word, on providing the site. So there has to be a relationship between the city and the CRA in the involvement of putting this project together. And in the sense that you own 2 lots, you're purchasing ours, the city owns 1 lot, they're giving it to you for this particular project, establishes that relationship that would justify Kresge's becoming involved with us.
Okay, you said a lot, Sherry. Can you just condense it for me? Are you said you are seeking funds from other nonprofit and other organizations.
Oh, yeah.
But also are you seeking the assistance of the county, whereas they're also an entity that you seem to work with a lot as well?
Well, I got a recommendation on Section 108, I believe, from TWE, but I understand that does not, we're not eligible for that. So right now, to the extent that the county is able to provide some funding to support our programs that would alleviate the fundraising money that we're using to substantiate them, sustain them, would add more funding to our program. Does that, am I?
Somewhat.
Somewhat.
I believe I'm just going to be on the same wavelength as Board Member Katz here. It's just difficult to look at the ask from the organization and whether it's at once or whether it's over a period of time for us to, for one organization, again, this is not to downplay the impact that you play for our community or for our city, but this is a large ask for just one organization for our organization to fund, especially as a governmental entity. That's why I ask what your other options are and what you're looking at.
If I may. The county has a program for acquisition through their sustainability program, but you're an entitlement city, and so that prevents me from being eligible for application. There's also a nonprofit bond financing, but it would take the pledge of the city's CDBG funding for that particular program, and I'm not so sure that would be a welcome activity. But other than that, and the Section 108, I don't know that there are any other programs. I'd be absolutely wanting to apply if there were, but at this point, I'm not aware of that. Yes.
Sure, I'd just like to make a comment. You said about the CDBG funding. We do have the Community Caring Center with that funding, and we have other organizations, and I'm just saying, I don't want anybody to think that we're going to strap our hands and give everything to the Community Caring Center. We do help you all.
No.
Okay, I just wanted for the record.
It would not
Okay.
be for that. And those funds out of the CDBG funding would not be eligible for us to use for this in any way.
Have the crab board's recommendation, we got the crab? We got Linda Cross is here? Oh, you haven't taken this, okay.
It'll be on our next agenda.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's kind of where I am in the sense of putting it up for the crab board to review it as part of next year's budget. Board Member Katz?
I recall reading, what's the appraised value of the property that we would intend to acquire from Community Care Center, Michael?
The current appraisal we have is about $172,000, and we are in the process of having that appraisal updated.
And in the item before us, it says $750,000 for acquisition of the current property?
It's $250,000 for the current property, and $750,000 is additional assistance that they are requesting for the construction.
No, it's the other way around. It's $750,000 for the purchase of the property and $250,000 for the site development grant.
I guess from a staff perspective, that's never been a position that I've taken on acquisition. It's always been a $250,000 like you did in your budget. So I apologize. I should have read that. But it theoretically, the acquisition itself of the property alone would not be supported by staff at $750,000. It would be supported at the $250 mark, which is, again, what you'd done in the previous item.
I just think there needs to be a lot more information and possibilities explored. Again, it's again, no knock to the organization. It's a nonprofit. Has anyone considered monetizing some part of this business to generate money to potentially pay for things? I know that might defy the spirit of a nonprofit, but at the same time, it's not so much a nonprofit when the government has to put $1.2 million into it. It sounds like a subsidized government entity.
The situation that we have is that currently the Secret Garden Cafe is in a commercial location that is paying over $12,000 a year in taxes. If we're giving this money and it's part of the nonprofit and it's all nonprofit, we're not getting any of that return in the taxes on that 9,000 square foot property plus the land. And so that's kind of one of the things that we have to look at, is that if you have some aspect of it as for profit, then there's taxable value that the CRA can get back in the future. And so I don't know if you're planning on putting the Secret Garden Cafe as a commercial kitchen for profit along with the Community Caring Center.
Been running that idea through. The potential with our chronic meals program is going to generate some income. It'll be small at the beginning and will help to pay for staff. But when we looked at who was doing chronic meals, and our first meal is with a healthcare agency, and it will be renal failure plans. We've gotten to where we've developed that, and we're just about ready to launch that. That's just one meal. And we'll be going into chemotherapy protocols later. As this develops, we think in probably year 2 or 3 that we may have to take a look at creating a for-profit entity and separate that from the agency. So that's where we're at with that.
I'd just like to close this up by saying, the Community Caring Center's been here over 30-plus years, And, we talk about dollars, and I understand the importance of tax dollars and subsidizing, but I don't know how you put a price on what type of service that they provide right here in Boynton Beach for the last 30-plus years.
It's $1.2 million.
Well, it's probably more than $1.2 million if you really came down to it. So I would suggest that, we take a look at what the crab board has to say and try to come up with some creative ways that we can help out here. Worst case scenario, they've got a piece of land that we need and want over to the Cottage District. So everything's negotiable.
That's where we're going to put it, so that we'll have the crab board review and come back next month. Moving on to item 14A, consideration of the rental agreement with the Boynton Beach Garden Club for full year 2018-19 meeting dates at the Historic Women's Club of Boynton Beach.
I have a question regarding this for staff, just up front. And it might just be my opinion. I didn't anticipate in the purchase of the Women's Club that we would become the body that reviews each and every lease that comes before it. Is there any way to delegate this authority to staff? Just because if that turns into what we anticipate it being, hopefully a very successful place where a lot of groups want to sign leases, it might just be me trying to avoid some work, but I don't know if I want to review lease agreements for an entertainment venue on a monthly basis, when that could be something done at the discretion of staff with some general guidance from us. It could just be me.
Yeah, the situation was there was 3 organizations that were using it, like the Boynton Beach Women's Club. We need to review their lease on a yearly basis almost because, of the deal that we made with them at the very beginning. It's also Boynton Beach Garden Club that provides in-kind services to the Boynton Beach Women's Club. And so that's why we're reviewing this one.
I get it. I just hope that we could delegate this to staff.
So I guess besides the other 3, I don't, we have a request from the Community Caring Center on the item B. But is there any further discussion regarding item 14A? Yes.
The hand go again. Okay, the Boynton Beach Garden Club. I'm still saying that if that president could come in here and tell me what do they do, I'm just saying. I'm not going to let it go, so somebody need to get me some information on the Boynton Beach Garden Club. They have 11 meetings, and I need to know what do they do. Do they meet to have coffee and tea, croissants or whatever? Not being funny, but I need to know something definite that they do that I can see.
All right. I don't think we have a representative from the Garden Club. Do we have a representative from the Garden Club here? Nope. So do you want to table it for next meeting, and hopefully we'll...
Motion to table.
Do we have a second?
Or this to staff.
Michael, do you want to, okay, well, the motion to table did not, failed for second. Board Member Katz, you want a motion for staff to make the decision?
Personally, I would prefer if the employees of the CRA dictated, rental agreements for a CRA-owned property under these circumstances. That's just my opinion.
Board, if I may
Yes.
respond to Board Member Katz, under normal circumstances, if you were going to, or someone else was going to rent the building for a wedding, you would not see those agreements. The entity that has provided the request, as in the next item, or any other entity that is requesting a waiver of the fee schedule that you as a board have set in place, and the policy that you set in place for local and non-local entities to use the building, other than you providing staff the ability to make that decision, I think that as a policy decision, that's really the reason that it's coming to you. Do you want to change your policy for this organization as opposed to Mike Simon deciding as your director to change it for this organization and maybe I don't for another? So that's ultimately why it's coming to you. I definitely want the board to know and the public that under any other normal circumstances, without any waivers requested, we handle that just like we do our leases with the slip tenants. We wouldn't want to burden you with that. It's that they're asking for an exception to the policy.
So any waived rental fee will come before us? Is that what you're saying, basically?
No regular rental fee would come before you, only
Only
if,
the waived ones.
only if people are asking you to change your policy for them particularly. And in this particular case, they're asking for the use of the building for 18 meetings at no cost, which from a rental perspective is an $8,100 cost. That if they were going to rent it.
meetings, you said 18.
$8,100, $8,100.
Yeah, 11 meetings, you told me.
That's what they used, that's what they had this year, and 18 for an entire year next year.
That our fiscal year or the calendar year?
The reason why the number is 11 is we acquired the property not at the beginning of the fiscal year, and you wouldn't have gotten to approve the 6 meetings or 7 meetings that you are now. So their full season of meetings is 18 regular meetings, but not exceeding 60 people. To my knowledge, unless Teresa can tell me otherwise, I'm not aware of any activity that the Garden Club is currently taking on as part of an in-kind contribution to the maintenance of the Women's Club currently. They have stopped any work they were doing. Is that correct? Yes. You did provide 11 meetings initially upon the request at acquisition, and you honored a certain amount of in-kind meetings at the acquisition, and now you're going to be approached by all those to renew those same free opportunities, I would imagine, as their contracts come up. This is the first one.
Since we're not booking weddings there or dances, I have no problem giving that consideration, waiving the fee.
I'll take that as a motion by Board Member Casello. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Katz. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state so by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-1. Next is consideration of Community Caring Center use for 2 special events.
Yes, Board, the request before you is from the Community Caring Center of Greater Boynton Beach to use the Historic Women's Club of Boynton Beach on October 8th from 11 to 2, and on February 12th, 2019, from 11 to 2, for 2 events focused on senior care and nutrition. The cleaning fees that the CRA will expend are $400, $200 for each event, and the waiver of fee would be a value of $900.
These are just 2 events, correct?
2 events, yes, sir. So
Motion to approve?
Do I have a
Who's going to second
Can
it?
we
You
get them
just
to-
waive 8,100 second.
All right. Any further discussion?
want to pay the fee of the cleaning, is that correct?
There was motion.
We can go ahead and pay the fee of the cleaning and let them go and have the event. You just gave it to somebody for 8,100. This is what I'm saying.
They were doing the cleaning.
We're taking option 1.
Okay.
And so we have it first and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Consideration of award and
Thank you.
contract for responses to the request for proposals for graphic design services.
That was a guy that wanted to speak.
Basically, I'd like staff to present on this. Then if we have any questions from staff, then I'll open the floor up to public.
Good evening, Board. Tracy Smith Coffey, Marketing and Business Development Specialist. In the recent years, the Boynton Beach CRA has procured professional graphic design services through requests for quotes. There are currently 3 separate entities providing the graphic design, video, and photography services for the CRA. In the upcoming fiscal year, the CRA would like to have more innovative and comprehensive approach to the marketing and promotion of the economic development activities. This may be accomplished by bringing the events to various locations within the CRA district to highlight the local goods and services available versus having the events at one location, connecting the events to the CRA's economic development initiatives versus tourism-related activities. Additionally, marketing and promotional items will need to be developed for the Historic Women's Club of Boynton Beach and the Boynton Harbor Marina. Staff anticipates that the expanded communication strategy will result in more outside graphic design needs. In order to efficiently manage workload and costs, and in anticipation of the additional economic development initiatives previously mentioned, a request for proposal was issued for ongoing graphic design services on an annual basis. The Boynton Beach CRA issued an RFP in accordance with the CRA procurement policy. The RFP was advertised on June 11th, 2018, and the deadline was June 25th, 2018 by 3 p.m. The graphic design services RFP scope of work consists of working with CRA staff to develop creative graphics to market and promote events managed by the CRA and initiatives supporting the CRA plan, such as the Boynton Beach Haunted Pirate Fest and Mermaid Splash, annual report, and promotions for business development initiatives and downtown and marina businesses. 12 proposals were received. Staff reviewed and scored the proposals in accordance with the RFP mandatory clarification requirements and selection criteria. The mandatory qualification requirements are: A, demonstrated knowledge of and at least 5 years of relevant experience in graphic design. Preference was given to respondents with the experience in community relations and government and institutional communications. B, demonstrated experience in providing graphic design services for traditional as well as online, email, and social media marketing. And C, direct or contracted staff members assigned to the project within relevant experience and qualifications. On the screen, you see the selection criteria. A is demonstrated experience and quality sample of work. The respondent got 30 points for that. B, quality of approach to providing services. The respondent got 20 points. And C, organizational capacity, 20 points for that as well. And D, proposed cost and fee schedule, 25 points. And E, respondent is a local business as defined in paragraph 7, was 5 points, and that was a local business in Boynton Beach.
Those are maximum points allowed for each of the responses to add, and it's really paragraph 12, just quick.
Right. On the overhead screen, I will show you the top 4 respondents' samples of work, starting with the highest ranked to the lowest ranked. Damn Good Agency with a cumulative score of 471 and a cost proposal of $87,975. DG is located in Delray Beach. Delray's Finest Signs ranked second with a score of 451 and a cost proposal of $34,465. Delray's Finest Signs is located in Delray Beach. Cubic Inc. ranked third with a score of 437 with a cost proposal of $96,400. Cubic Inc. has done work for Martin County, but is located out of state, residing in Oklahoma. VUP Media ranked fourth with a score of 411 and cost proposal of $40,850. VUP has a business in Delray Beach and is also located out of state, residing in Rhode Island. The results indicate that DG Communications Group, damn good agency, is top-ranked respondent with a cumulative score of 471. DG has submitted sufficient information for staff's evaluation of its proposal in accordance with the above selection criteria. However, DG submitted an incomplete professional reference contact list. The list consisted of 11 professional references and number of years of experience, but did not include the contact name, the company address, the telephone number, the email, the scope of work, and the contract amount. Pursuant to paragraph 17, disclosure and disclaimer, the CRA may, at its sole discretion, elect to waive requirements and either for all respondents or for specific response, which the CRA in its sole discretion deems non-material. For the reasons stated above, staff recommends that the board award the contract to DG and direct staff to proceed with the reference verification process prior to the contract execution. Provided to the board is a draft consultant agreement for graphic design services prepared by the CRA staff and legal counsel. The basic terms for the contracts are as follows. Annual contract with an option for up to 3 one-year renewals, a cost not to exceed $87,975, and the ability to adjust the scope of services for consistency with the CRA board approval marketing allowance in the future adopted fiscal year budget, and 30-day termination via written notice. If you have any questions.
So, Commission or Board, would you like to have comments from the public first? Yes. Got it. So if anyone has any questions from the public, please.
If I can add, there are 3 entities that have submitted that's before us, if I believe VUP and DFS, as well as DG. They're all here. If
Yeah, please state your name and
Andrew
company.
Fogel, VUP Media, Delray Beach. I just have 3 simple questions. You kind of addressed some of them. The RFP did require professional references to be submitted. However, one of the agencies did not complete that, so I was just confused as to if it is a requirement of submission, why is it at this point? So was the validation process of looking into these referrals an important part of this evaluation?
I can answer that. Most of the submittal had one thing or another that was wrong with it. If we were to take a very strict requirement of this, very few would even be before you. So we look at the things that are material. Typically, references are done and looked up online. You can get the name, addresses of those various agencies locally, and we do that. We're processing the reference right now. We usually don't know until we have our list. We did this list within a very rapid, short turnaround time. So we're in the process of getting those questions that we normally ask of all the references. So that's one of the things that staff have felt that is not material, because the major bulk of it is really your qualifications, your experience, your sample of work. And then, again, one of the things is the quality submittal was not one of the requirements that's in the point scoring.
Understood.
So, like I said, a lot of people did not fill out the forms that's needed. They put in their own forms. So we had to look at it to see what is it that the staff needed to do to look at the qualifications based on those scoring criteria. So that's one of the reasons why we felt that that is not material. And we were fair with everyone, giving them leniency for certain things. tab sections. Some of the people didn't do tab sections, so if we were looking at very strictly, we would not be here with 12 qualified. And they're very good candidates, and they're very well prepared. I have to compliment everybody for that.
Yeah, we were just curious about the references, that's all. That I would think with a year contract or option of up to 3-year renewal, work reference within businesses like yourself would be pretty important. And we'll skip over my second, but the third question is cost criteria. How important was the cost criteria? And this is just for our reference to know going forward how to be better.
Was that?
Well, right now, basically, the cost is going to come out of this budget for this
No, they asked for the
project.
cost criteria. Well, how many points?
Go back
It's
to that
25.
slide.
The points are 25. Hold on.
Go back to the slide, please.
Yeah.
Oh, do you want me to put it up there?
You don't have that.
25 points.
Chair, if I may, just add while we're all looking, and just to reiterate what was presented from a legal perspective, the bid documents provided selection criteria which are up on the board. What staff did wasn't an analysis and ranking. The board is the entity that is ultimately going to make a selection and vote upon the selection and the recommendations. It is at this time that they would choose to waive one of the criteria, which they retain the right to do in the bid document. So that's the decision before the board tonight. Just wanted to make that clear, that it wasn't staff waiving the decision, that particular issue. That will be a decision by the staff, by the board.
Answer is 25%. 25 out of 100 points.
Yeah.
Sir, just so I missed it, who do you represent?
I'm the owner of VUP Media, number 4.
DFS?
Nope, not VUP Media.
VUP is the fourth ranked.
VUP, okay, I see.
$40,850, which is more than half off. Damn good agency.
And Delray Finest is about 30% of the cost.
So,
those are my questions, that's all.
all right, thank you very much.
If I may.
Yes, Board Member Costello.
I'm looking at DFS, they came in second,
Yes.
correct? And if I'm reading this right, their flat fee is $34,000 versus the $87,000, 34,000 versus the $87,000. It's over $50,000 worth of savings. They charge $60 per hour. The DG charge $150 an hour. It's the one that came in damn good agency comes in incomplete as far, and I think references, if anything, if you're gonna be missing anything, references and shouldn't be one of them. Tabs, I understand, whatever, but references I think are very important when you're seeking a contract.
Susan, do you have comments?
Questions and comments.
Okay.
Susan Oyer, 140 Southeast 27th Way. I guess my first one is I noticed some of the brochures from a different company. What was the problem? So one of these other companies, was it ranked number 3, has been doing our work before? And if you know the quality of work, it seems like they've always done a really good job. So I'm curious, like, why they were ranked 3 and not number 1. Is it just because they're out of the area?
No, DFS was doing our work before, and they're in Delray.
Oh, okay.
So they're not out of the area, no.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The third one was out of the
The
area.
third one, which is Cubic, they're in Oklahoma.
Okay, I was
Yeah.
trying to remember which order I saw them in, and, thank you. And is there going to be something addressed? My big issue every single year with CRA is I think you start advertising all your events way too late in the year. Is there a way to start getting things done earlier? You know, like, why are we not advertising the movies until, like, hardcore advertising till we're in our third or fourth movie every year? So your really great movie, your best movie of the year is always your first one, and it's the one with the least attendance because no one knows about it except me. So, which it's nice I know, but it'd be nice if everybody knows, and it seems like maybe we should be pushing this out. And I'm wondering, is it a function of the budget? And because the budget gets pushed out so late, then you hire late and then it takes them a late start? Or can we resolve the timing of I mean, I think all these are great, but why is it not being done earlier? Is that a function of the budget, or is that a function of the company?
I think it's a function of
I think-
the
I
board
think
in the
the-
sense,
you're
excuse
making-
me, in the sense is that, you know, we have our plans and every month we have something new, so we can't advertise what's going on in October when we're still in, you know, when we haven't finished
Right.
what's going on in September.
But you're not advertising October until like just a couple days before, or the day
I
before,
disagree,
versus
you
I
know,
think earlier.
Because when we have all the dates that they're coming out, that's at the beginning of the year, whenever we get the material. And right now, what we're doing is that instead of putting out the request for quotes, where we have to spend a lot of time to get the quotes back, we get to go ahead of time and get everything all at place. And so, can we create deadlines of at least 20 days or 30 days before our event as part of the contract?
Absolutely. One of the reasons why movies and music got advertised later is our budget cycle starts in October. So that's, you know, we allocate the money for that next budget cycle. As of right now, Pirates is our next big event, and we are preparing for the marketing for Pirates, and that's why this RFP was so important, so we could start marketing Pirates. We start marketing Pirates in September with social media, and then October is when we get the sponsors on the collateral, the posters and postcards. So it takes us to get the sponsorship money, and then October, you'll see all the print collateral with the sponsors on it.
Right. I know I've been seeing stuff on social media already that Mercedes has been doing. And I guess that's another question is there a way to do this in-house at a lower cost than going outside and using a local printing company versus doing something outside? I mean, what were we doing in the past? Have we always used an outside company?
I mean, there's stuff. Yes. I mean, yeah. And is there any other questions?
I guess not. I would say go for the cheapest.
Thank you.
Save the tax dollars.
Just to answer, we do a lot of the stuff in-house, and for printing, we always shop. So we have to do these requests for quotes every time an item comes. This will help us have one source we can go to, and we can plan better for the year. So that's why we're doing this, and hopefully we will get a cost saving for the next 3 years if we all agree to stick with the price for the next 3 years. So we do that. As part of this contract, they have to shop for the printing costs for that. So it's part of the contract that's before the board.
Gentlemen, did you have any comments? Questions?
Derek Channel, Gavin Robin from Damn Good Agency.
Hi, good evening.
Hey, just for the record, we do have references, although it may be a little late. There are 6 quality references here that you are more than welcome to check and verify.
Were they also the previous contracts as well? Or Tracy, is that something that you said?
These are all clients that we have worked with for a numerous agency of record, as well as project-based pieces
Right,
over
we
the
did,
last 5 years.
in their submittal, they did note that the organizations that they did work for and how long they did work for them, but they did not give us a contact number or a name or the contract, how much the contract was. So they did list their references, it just wasn't completed.
Okay, and so
All the information was in there, just not the actual phone numbers.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
and we've approached it almost like a job application, a resume. You may have 8 previous employers, but you may have 3 listed as references. So we showed our broad scope of work with city entities.
Thank you. Yeah, do you want to hand?
Questions?
I'm
Yes.
sorry, say that again?
No, board, yes.
Because
Board
I thought
Member
you were
Katz.
talking to
No, nope,
the
not
board
you.
chair.
I got it. Board
Okay.
Member Katz, followed by Board Member Casella.
Okay.
What, in your professional opinion, is the difference between the cost of the first and second place entries? Like what, as Board Member Casella pointed out, it's almost like 50 grand or so. What might be your explanation as to why theirs is so low or yours is so high?
We've had our agency for 23 years. 20 of those years have been in downtown Delray Beach. The majority of the agency, first of all, we're a 12-man agency. We're a full-time 12-man agency with most of the residents living in Delray, Boca, and Boynton Beach. We've worked with a lot of non-for-profits, with the Boca Raton Museum of Art, the Norton Museum of Art, Fort Lauderdale Museum of Art, and a lot of non-for-profits, as well as a lot of cities. City of Weston for 6 years, City of Delray Beach we've been working with for 3 years. We work with the Murakami Museum and Japanese Garden. We're in our 6th year. We've worked with the City of Boynton Beach previously for a number of years. We've worked with, Derek's background is spearheading the Fort Lauderdale campaign a number of years ago. We've worked with cities for many, many years. But what we as an agency do differently and bring to any client, specifically cities and non-for-profits, because we have a passion for non-for-profits and we have a passion for cities where we live. We're all here as a group. We've supported Delray Beach and our local communities. But what we bring as an agency is things that are not accounted for with the response in this RFP, which is strategy, which is deep level thinking. Even though it might be to just deliver the creative elements, our job as an agency is to be a united group in meeting on a regular basis, and that's something we stressed in our proposal or in our RFP, is we like to meet on a regular basis and understand from any of the campaigns how we can maximize any of our efforts, and as a group what we can contribute from a digital side, from a social side, from a graphic side, from a marketing side. We're passionate about what we do, and we firmly believe and have a track record. Once you speak to any of our references or any of the clients that we've worked with, but again, specifically for non-for-profits and specifically for cities with lower dollar amounts and budgets, we give more. We've always done, and we will continue to do so. So I think that is the biggest strength of our agency, is we have different abilities. There's different departments in the agency, but even though it might be just a creative piece to come up with a headline and a graphic piece, it's more about the deep level thinking of how we can maximize any of those opportunities and grow any of the pieces that we do, as far as events are concerned, as far as participation, social media, anything, direct response, positioning. I think that's what we feel we bring to the table that's different. Also, our years of experience within the agency as far as staff members are concerned. We have staff members with incredible backgrounds, from schooling, from work, and most of the staff members have been with the agency some of the staff members have been with the agency going on 11 years. So it's a different type of agency environment, and we've had the experience of working with City of Boynton Beach previously. We were hired for numerous projects. That we always gave more in trying to extend any effort with any work we've ever done.
Thank you.
So that was a loaded answer, but I hope it came across in trying to paint a picture as to the difference between different agencies and a 12-man group with an incredible, I would hope to think, experience in working with cities.
If I may ask you, so when you
Yes.
sit down with our staff to get into that deep thinking process to maximize whatever, that comes with a cost.
So
at $150 an hour.
Absolutely. It
That's
comes with
deep thinking.
It comes at a cost of $190 an hour, but we actually discounted it
Okay,
to give
thank you.
back.
Tracy, to you, have we used DFS graphics before? You said we've used them before?
Yes,
Okay.
we currently, this past year, have used DFS graphics, actually, for the last 4 years. We have used DG last year for our annual report, and 2 years prior to that. damn good agency, and we also use a VUP for our video, and they did our annual report this year.
Okay, I'm looking at the scores here, 471 versus 451. Not a real big difference there in numbers, but what is a big difference between you and the second-place team here is $53,510 a year, plus $150 an hour for the deep thinking thought process versus $60 per hour. My personal opinion and choice will be team number 2.
Board have any further comments for DG agency?
No, not for DG, but for staff.
Yes.
Being that we've worked
Thank
with
you, gentlemen.
DFS for the last 4 years, is there a reason why we've decided to change course?
No, we just,
Yeah, well, I think when we say we've been working with them, it's not continuously because we've been giving, each campaign, we have to do quotes. So it could be a number of, consultants that we have. Because of the request for quotes, last year, the annual report, VUP was able to give us a better pricing on that. So we've been shopping per campaign. So it's
what
not,
differs in what we're doing now compared to what we've been doing?
you would have these costs already pre-approved not to exceed an amount. And then we would also look at, as the projects are funded yearly, we would look at to be able to, the contract allows us to subtract or modify the scope as well. So let's say some of the campaign we have, we may not need as many graphics as possible. So we could actually even be able to negotiate that down to a lower amount as the agency would need. So the difference is you would have one firm working for us, and we would know from a budgetary point of view the not to exceed costs for some of these campaigns.
So basically what you're saying, instead of each and every project or each and every marketing campaign that we're doing, we're going out for proposals on that particular campaign, we would have all of our campaigns underneath the umbrella of one company,
entity.
and that company would have a set price for us for that year that we've contracted with them, with the option of renewing.
Exactly,
Right.
for 4
Okay.
additional years.
Thank
So
you
you
for
could control
clarifying
it.
that.
Yes.
Do I have a motion? We have Board Member Casella's thoughts, but we need a motion.
Make a motion that we choose team number 2, Delray Finest Signs and Graphics, LLC.
Is there a second?
I'm gonna second it.
All right. Is there any further discussion? Tara?
Can I just clarify that the
Yes.
motion included approval of the contract, subject to final legal approval,
Correct.
with the ability for the mayor to execute?
Okay. All right. And does the board also want to include deadlines before each meeting? Or Tracy, is that something that's going to be included in the contract?
yes, of course, yes.
Okay, well, then never mind. All right, so we have a first and second. All those in favor state so by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Is that it? Nope, we got one more. D, CRA Board Discussion Consideration of Executive Director's Annual Performance Review. I asked Michael in our meeting to give us an evaluation so that we each can evaluate him and discuss at next meeting, similar to what we do with the city manager. His contract is different as it is than the previous executive director, as there is no end date. Is that okay with the board? I'm getting some headshot nods.
Fine.
Yeah, okay. That's, yeah.
Can't
And
hear those
so,
head nods.
after that, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, meeting is adjourned.
They had it out there like this. Like
Very much so.
one of your kids.
Figures now they're tearing the building down, they're going to
I loved it. It was delicious.
for dimes, because it shuts off at 8 o'clock.
Doesn't kill me, it's not making me stronger.
I'm going to rename you Pretzel.
I was telling my wife a couple of meetings ago, I'm like this.